Chapter 806. Why are you following me? Tangwa asked curiously. That Buddhist cultivator has promised to send you to reincarnation and help you purify the murderous aura in your soul. You will definitely have a good life in your next life. The next life is the next life. Are we still us without our memories? We are already another person. Tangwa did not expect such an answer. Then you can think about it again. In this world, there were indeed ghost cultivators. These little ghosts were not willing to reincarnate, so it was not bad for them to cultivate. Once they became ghost cultivators, they would be considered to have entered the path of cultivation. Even ghost hunters would not easily make enemies with ghost cultivators. Ghost cultivators had many tricks up their sleeves. Without deep hatred, no one was willing to provoke them. After a while, all kinds of frightened and miserable screams came from many rooms in the village. The frightened voices belonged to women, and the miserable screams belonged to men. Tangwa looked at the crescent moon in the sky. The little ghosts beside her were also very curious. They imitated her and looked up at the crescent moon in a daze. All night, the village was filled with all kinds of miserable screams. Many men ran out of their houses, but they were still entangled by the little ghosts. Perhaps they were imitating Tangwa. Before they killed those men, they would always help them remember how they died in their hands. By dawn, half of the men in the village had died. Those numb women hid in their houses and did not dare to come out. Even those men who were not avenged did not dare to come out. After witnessing the scene last night, they were also afraid. I wonder when the ghost hunters will come. These people only dared to come out when the sun rose. Looking at the corpses lying around, they felt their hair stand on end. If it were not for the rising sun, they would not have dared to come out. It should be soon. I hope they come sooner. This time, no one in the village doubted the existence of ghosts. Let's go get more black dog blood and boy urine. Let's all stay in the same house tonight. Tangwa was still sitting on the roof, watching them discuss. A group of little ghosts surrounded her. Previously, when Tangwa told them that they would not be afraid of the sun if they sat beside her, they were still a little skeptical. But now, they did not doubt her at all. Umadba. Karma is the cycle of karma. Since you have taken revenge, you can go over there. That Buddhist cultivator will not hurt you. Tangwa pointed to a place far away. You should still remember that intersection. The Buddhist cultivator is on the tree. Most of the little ghosts were still willing to be reincarnated. They bowed to Tangwa and floated over. When they approached the tree, their souls involuntarily floated into the Buddha statue. Compared to the piercing pain they felt when they approached the Buddha statue, this time, they only felt a gentle power. It was so comfortable that they wanted to sleep. There were still a few little ghosts left beside Tangwa. Are you really not going? She asked. Tangwa thought about what she was going to do next. It's not bad to have a few subordinates to order around. You can also go under the tree to cultivate. He will not chase you away. The little ghosts obtained the cultivation method. They bowed to Tangwa and floated to the Buddha statue happily. Chapter 807. Afternoon, the villagers dealt with the corpses and looked at the setting sun worriedly. Tangwa sneered. They also have times when they are afraid. They're here. They're here. The ghost-catching priest is here. Someone shouted from outside the village. Then, Tangwa saw 3 people walk into the village. One of them was a young man in a Taoist robe, and the other was a girl who was not even 20 years old. She was Ning Xiangxi, and the last one was Sanwazi from the village. His face was full of excitement. This little Taoist is very capable. The villagers instinctively noticed Ning Xiangxi first. Their blatant gazes made Ning Xiangxi a little uncomfortable. She pursed her lips and said, "You people, don't even think about it. We're just here to stop the ghosts from doing evil." When they found out that half of the villagers had died last night, their expressions were very serious. Especially Ning Xiangxi. Hadn't the village chief and the human traffickers been caught? Why wouldn't she let these people go? She also hated these people, but she hated ghosts even more. Because of her special constitution, she had attracted ghosts since she was young. If she hadn't met an expert, who was Feng Yunqi's master, she would have been eaten by ghosts long ago. Therefore, she was biased against ghosts. Even if she knew that the villagers weren't good people, she still wanted to lock them up in prison. But she felt that the ghosts here needed to be dealt with, especially the evil ghost that killed people last night. Brother Fong, that ghost saved me before. Capture her, but don't hurt her. Just send her to the temple and let her wake up. As for the other evil spirits, don't let them go. When I was in danger, only she helped me. I'm repaying her kindness. I don't want to owe others. She seems to be clear-headed and different from those evil spirits. If she really watched Fong Yunqi kill Tanghua, she would feel very guilty. After all, Tanghua was her savior. Even if she hated ghosts, she would feel very guilty. Okay, Fong Yunqi replied. He didn't kill ghosts when he met them. Most of the time, when they caught ghosts, they were more willing to send them to the temple to be reformed. Of course, evil spirits were excluded. Basically, when they met evil spirits and malicious ghosts, they would kill them. In the past, he would always go out with his master. This time, his master was in seclusion, and he was familiar with Ning Xiangxi. He heard that there was a ghost here. It did not seem to be very strong, so he came with his outfit. When Tanghua heard this, she did not care. The little ghosts would not appear again. Even if Fong Yunqi wanted to destroy ghosts, he would need ghosts. Of course, she would still appear. At midnight, Fong Yunqi, Ning Xiangxi, and everyone else in the village gathered in a room. The village originally had close to 100 people, but now there were less than 100 left. Thinking back to what had happened last night, many people had lingering fear. You don't have to be afraid. With me here, that malicious spirit won't harm you, Fong Yunqi said. At this moment, the door was pushed open. Fong Yunqi gripped his peachwood sword and stared at the door with a serious expression. When Tanghua walked in, he froze for a moment. Tanghua was wearing a sports skirt and a pair of white shoes. This was the clothes that the original owner was wearing when she died. No one burned new clothes for the original owner, so she could only wear this. Little Taoist, Tanghua said with a smile, I advise you to leave this place. Don't care about the people here. Those who died deserved it. They took more than one life. So, this is the reason why you killed them? Fong Yunqi frowned. Chapter 808. Tanghua replied, Yes, I was killed by them too. Why can't I take revenge? Ask Ning Xiangxi what happened to her here. Ning Xiangxi's expression changed. Her experience here had almost become a nightmare. You've already taken your revenge. Why don't you leave? Ning Xiangxi asked. Those who harmed you have already received their retribution. You should leave too. Little girl, aren't you here to help us catch ghosts? Why are you letting her go now? Ning Xiangxi frowned. She wants to kill the people in your village because they killed her. She also saved me. I definitely won't kill her. The reason why I'm here is because there are other evil spirits here. After all, the women and children in the village are innocent. Brother Fong, bring her to the temple, Ning Xiangxi said. Ning Xiangxi said that no matter what, he had saved her life. She couldn't just watch as his soul dissipated. Fong Yunqi nodded. Okay. He took a step forward and took out a gourd. Are you coming in willingly, or do you want me to do it? Little Taoist, with that little bit of cultivation of yours, it's nothing in front of me. Tanghua's figure appeared in front of Fong Yunqi. Before he could react, the gourd that was used to store ghosts fell into Tanghua's hands. You want to store me with a broken gourd? Dream on. With that, she pinched the gourd lightly. Under Fong Yunqi's incredulous gaze, the gourd exploded. Fong Yunqi's face paled. He held the peachwood sword and rushed towards Tanghua. In an instant, the peachwood sword was in Tanghua's hands. I'm really not afraid of this. Tanghua smiled. She broke the peachwood sword. Little Taoist, you can't do this. She looked arrogant and vile, which infuriated Fong Yunqi. That was his beloved peachwood sword. He had no choice but to take out the ghost-catching talisman that his master had given him. Unfortunately, before he could chant the talisman, it was snatched away by Tanghua. She smiled and tore the talisman into pieces in front of him. I'm not afraid of talismans either. Fong Yunqi felt dizzy. He immediately used all the methods that he had learned and all the tools that he had brought to catch ghosts. However, none of them worked on Tanghua. Fong Yunqi wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and looked at the smiling Tangua with fear. She may be a ghost king. Even if my master comes, he may not be able to deal with her. She is not an ordinary ghost at all. When the villagers heard this, despair appeared on their faces. All right, you've finished your performance. It's my turn now. From the very beginning, Tangua had no intention of letting the villagers off. You're not allowed to kill anymore, Ning Xiangxi shouted. The remaining people didn't kill anyone, but they are accomplices, Tangua said. Ning Xiangxi pursed her lips. He doesn't deserve death. All right, then I don't want their lives. Tangua took a step back and looked at the burly men with her beautiful eyes. In order to stop you from continuing to persecute young girls, you should castrate yourselves. If you turn yourselves into eunuchs, I'll spare your lives. Under the moonlight and light, the way she smiled as she said these words really made her look like a demon. She was scary and beautiful. However, in the eyes of the villagers, she was a demon. Little Taoist, this female ghost is really too evil. Please take her in. All of us in the village will kneel before you. Chapter 809. Fang Yunqi looked bitter. It wasn't that he didn't want to take them, but he couldn't deal with them. I think it's best to kill them. Ning Xiangxi heard this and quickly said, just listen to her and castrate them yourselves. She didn't like these stinky men either. Castration was better than losing their lives. Tangua looked at Ning Xiangxi and said, you don't have to persuade them. If they don't listen, I'll kill them. From then on, there will be fewer disasters in this world. This sinful village should have been destroyed. She glanced at the terrified men and the numb women. At this moment, these women were looking at her with evil eyes and the children who were glaring at her. If you don't come, I'll kill them all. Not a single one will be left alive. What are you still thinking about? Hurry up and do it. We can't deal with her. If you want to live, do it. At this moment, Ning Xiangxi understood. She felt that this female ghost really wanted to kill everyone in the village. This was simply a ferocious ghost. However, they couldn't stop her at all. If she castrated the men, she would feel a little better. These men deserved it. However, she couldn't just watch the other party kill the entire village. At this moment, a man screamed. Ning Xiangxi turned around and looked at the man whose neck had been broken. Her face turned red. Let them think about it. After all, it's not so easy to make a decision. She didn't know how ridiculous it sounded when she said that. Tangua took back the white silk. My weight is limited. From now on, I'll kill one every 10 minutes. I'll start with the men. If they don't do anything, I'll kill them all. The Buddha statue on the tree outside shook his head and didn't stop her. He smiled bitterly and closed his eyes, continuing to release the souls of the little ghosts around him. Another 10 minutes passed. Finally, someone made a move. It was a woman. She took a pair of scissors, and when the man beside her wasn't paying attention, she cut him. The man covered his lower body and screamed in pain. You, Dunzi, don't blame me. I don't want you to die. This family needs a man. We still have a son. He's still young. I can't watch him be killed by the female ghost. The woman's face was a little ferocious. I'll apply the medicine for you right away. Tangua glanced at the woman. Under her worried eyes, there was a hint of pleasure. Who said that they were completely numb? At the crucial moment, their minds were very clear. After this case, the room was filled with screams. Almost all of them were done by the woman, cutting off her man's manhood. Soon, only the men were left, and their faces were filled with pain. All right, are you done now? Ning Xiangxi said. Fang Yunqi's face was ashen. I can't take you today, but one day, you will be taken by a fellow Taoist with a higher cultivation base. At this moment, footsteps were heard from outside. Almost in the blink of an eye, a young man in a Taoist robe appeared at the door. Tangua subconsciously turned around and met his eyes. Instantly, she felt a familiar soul fluctuation. She couldn't help but smile at the person who came. That pure smile stunned the young Taoist who came to the door. Soon, he realized that this was a female ghost with a high cultivation base. Senior Qin. Fang Yunqi almost jumped up in excitement and hurriedly greeted him. Chapter 810. Senior Qin, there's a Ghost King level ghost causing trouble here. I'd like to trouble you to subdue her. Tangwa nodded and smiled. Oh, so you're here to catch ghosts too? No. Qinjiu shook his head, and a deep look flashed across his eyes. The image of the female ghost smiling at him earlier appeared in his mind. That smile gave him the feeling that she knew him. However, he clearly remembered that he did not know this female ghost. Senior Qin, this female ghost has done many evil things. You must subdue her. Just now, she almost massacred the entire village, Fang Yunqi said anxiously. He hurriedly told Qinjiu everything that had happened. So, Senior Qin, you can't let her go. Qinjiu did not show any disgust towards Tangwa because of these words. He also ignored Fang Yunqi and used his fingers to calculate. His eyes narrowed. Karma. I can't do anything about it. Qin. I don't want to do anything about it. I'm a Taoist who catches demons, not ghosts. Qinjiu said seriously. This village's fate is their retribution. If I do anything about it, I'll have to accept the karma. It's not worth it. Senior Qin, after you subdue this female ghost, I'll definitely tell my master and have him pay you. Fang Yunqi suddenly remembered that Qinjiu was famous in the circle for taking people's money. He would not do anything that would cause him a loss. He was also very cold. If he did not pay enough, he would watch you die. Thinking about it, Fang Yunqi's expression became ugly. I definitely won't trick Senior Qin. You should know my master. He's not someone who goes back on his words. No, I only catch demons, not ghosts. He glanced at the female ghost and calculated. It seemed that he could not win. Her soul was very strong and had a thick layer of virtue. He felt that it was more than that. Moreover, he liked this female ghost, so there was no need to fight with her. Fang Yunqi was disappointed. Tangwa was also surprised. This Taoist was quite interesting. Taoist, you're really not going to capture me? I said I'm not going to capture you. Why would I want to capture you? If he couldn't win, he would be beaten up, and he wouldn't get any money. In the end, his reputation would be ruined, and he might not be able to get any business in the future. No matter how he thought about it, it was not worth it. Tangwa seemed to have understood something from Fang Yunqi's words. This Taoist priest seems to be someone who takes money to get rid of disasters. He's the kind of person who only cares about money. She thought of the skeleton that was still hanging on the cliff and took out a bead. Taoist priest, help me with something, and I'll give you this as a reward. Qinjiu stared at the pearl and squinted his eyes. This pearl was not simple. There was a faint spiritual energy coming from it that made one feel comfortable. It was a good item. He didn't answer immediately and asked, "What's the matter?" Legend had it that beautiful female ghosts were the best at tricking people. There's nothing wrong with being careful. Can you help me collect the bones? Tangwa asked with a smile. Qinjiu was stunned for a moment. He hadn't expected this, so he replied straightforwardly, yes. Tangwa threw the bead to Qinjiu. You want to bring my bones back to my home. You should know what to do, right? I know. She had been thinking about how to bring the original owner's body back to her hometown. This Qinjiu seemed more reliable than most people. It wasn't that she felt that this was a familiar soul, but this kind of person who took someone's money usually didn't care about the rules. They only cared about trust. As long as she paid enough, he would definitely do it well. Chapter 811. Are we just going to let her go like that? The villagers looked in the direction that Tangwa and Qinjiu had disappeared in, their faces filled with hatred. However, when they thought of what had happened, they were filled with fear. Ning Xiangxi turned around to glare at them. We can't beat her. If you want her to stay, go out and call for help. She didn't want to see the villagers die, but she still hated the people here. Fang Yunqi felt terrible. The things that he had brought had all been destroyed by the female ghost. He was filled with anger. Qinjiu followed behind Tangwa until they reached the edge of the cliff. My bones are right below. You should be able to float, right? I can float for a while, Qinjiu replied. Tangwa smiled and floated down. Qinjiu jumped down after her. Using the force of the cliff, he landed for a while and soon saw the white bones stuck in the cracks. He landed to the side and took out his sword. He stabbed it into the stone wall and stepped on the sword. He took out a sack and carefully picked up the bones. Be careful. Tangwa looked at the white bones and shook. Don't drop them. They are often blown by the wind in this place. If they fall, they will break easily. If they are not whole, they won't be pretty. Chinjio, can a white bone be described as pretty? I know, Chinjio quickly said. Don't worry. The price you paid is enough. I will help you do it properly. He was much more careful now, putting the bones into the sack one by one. Tangwa hung on a branch that stretched out from the cracks in the rocks. She held her chin. What's your name? What do you do? Chinjio. Catching monsters for a living. Occasionally, I do a side job to help people. These days, there are fewer and fewer monsters. I finally met one, and it was a vegetarian. If I didn't do a side job, I wouldn't be able to survive. System. It's confirmed. It's that guy. He looked at his host, who was happily hanging on the branch. This Chinjio gave his host a good first impression. He didn't start yelling at her. Therefore, he guessed that his host was going to start flirting with her cutie. Okay, I've picked them up and put them in the sack. Chinjio wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and carefully held the sack. Are you going to bring them back to your hometown to bury them? Of course, I have to go home and have a look. The corpse had to be brought back. It couldn't be left on the cliff. Sooner or later, it would rot. Since she had accepted everything, the skeleton was also hers. Chinjio asked again, after you're buried, are you going to reincarnate? No. According to the time, the original owner was destroyed in these few days. She estimated that she would have to stay here for another 20 years. If he reincarnated, he would go directly to the next world. She had only been here for a short period of time. There were still many things that she had yet to do. There were still some results that she was waiting to see. Become a ghost cultivator? That's right. Your strength is strong, and it's a pity that you reincarnated. As a ghost cultivator, not many people can do anything to you. Chinju said. Tangwa smiled. You didn't agree with Feng Yunqi before because you thought you couldn't beat me, right? Chinju's body stiffened. With a serious expression, he said, Of course not. I really only catch demons, not ghosts. It was true that he had never thought of catching her, much less now. This female ghost gave him a good impression, and now she was his employer. Chinju didn't care about anyone, but he was the boss when it came to paying. Before he finished his job, he definitely wouldn't go back on his word. In the circle, his reputation was very good. Tangwa took out a sword. I can't stay in the human world for long. Maybe 20 years. I'll use this sword to hire you. Chapter 8:12. Do you want it or not? Chinju looked at the sword and was stunned. This was definitely not a spiritual artifact. Celestial artifact? Celestial artifact. Do you want it? Tangwa's lips curled up. This fellow was so cute. He was so cute even though he loved money. She really liked him. Chinju didn't hesitate at all. Yes. Anyway, he was going everywhere. Following a female ghost for 20 years was nothing. He could even get a celestial sword. He was sure that this was the only celestial sword in the human world. Here, it's for you. Tangwa casually tossed the immortal sword to Chinju. Chinju hurriedly caught it and stared at it for a long time. Chinju, you are now my employee. In these 20 years, you will have to help me do things. There are many things that are inconvenient for me, and I will need you to do them. No problem, Chinju quickly replied. She was the boss. He kept the sword. He would refine it when he was free. Do you want to go back to your house now? And Tangwa nodded and floated up. Chinju floated up too. Now that they were familiar with each other, he started to talk more. How did you fall off the cliff? I came here with a few friends to play. In the end, we fell into the hands of the villagers. If I didn't run, I would have to give birth to their children and be trapped there forever. Tangwa smiled. I wasn't familiar with the road. How could a little girl outrun them? I had no choice but to run up the mountain. When I reached here, they caught up. Compared to being caught, I jumped down without hesitation. Sometimes, isn't there more hope when you are alive? Tangwa mocked. Look at the women in the village. Is that hope? It's numbness and assimilation. Isn't it good now? I took revenge and I am a powerful ghost. You can't beat me. Chinju. He didn't want to argue with her. She looked young. Chinjio felt that this female ghost's identity wasn't so simple. She had the spiritual cultivation bead and the celestial sword. She must have had a great opportunity. According to his calculations, this village's retribution wouldn't come so soon. It would take at least 20 years. The only variable was this female ghost. However, he had previously calculated that this village's retribution was not over yet. The second retribution would be at the time he had calculated at the beginning. As for the rest, he had not divined it. It was impossible for him to completely see through the mysteries of heaven, just like the variable in front of him. "What's your name?" "My name is Tangwa." Tangwa told Chinju her former home address according to her memory, but only by returning to that place would she be able to find her family. It had to be said that Chinju was indeed very reliable. He quickly brought her back to that familiar yet unfamiliar city and to her home. Her family background was not bad, and she lived in one of the villas. They should have moved away. Chinju comforted her. "It's still easy to find someone now. Do you still remember their name, phone number, and so on?" "Yes." Tangwa gave him 2 phone numbers. Chinju took out his phone and made a call. "Hello. Hello, are you Mr. Tang?" "Yes." Chinju quickly told him what had happened. The other side fell into silence for a while. Then, he arranged a time to meet with Chinju to discuss the issue of Tangwa's burial. When Tangwa heard the silence on the other side of the phone, she knew that something was wrong. Chinju brought Tangwa to an unfamiliar address. Looking at the even more luxurious villa in front of him, he wasn't surprised. After all, Tangwa's family background was very good. After contacting Mr. Tang, he was invited into the villa by the servants. Chapter 8:13. Father Tang came down the stairs and looked at Chinju. Seeing that he was wearing a Taoist robe, he asked, "Are you Taoist, Chin?" Chinju stood up and nodded. "That's me." Father Tang looked around. "Where are my daughter's bones now?" His tone was calm. It was not what Chinju had expected. Father Tang did not seem to care about Tangwa's life or death. Chinju's smile faded a little. "They're buried somewhere else. You can't just bring them in like that, right?" "That's true." Father Tang sat on the sofa. "How much do you want?" "I'll get someone to buy a grave. When the time comes, I'll have to trouble Taoist Chin to bring her there and bury her." Chinju glanced at Tangwa and hesitated for a moment. "Just a simple burial? What else do you want?" Chinju frowned. "Tangwa's death was unjust. We need to release her soul and set up a mourning hall at home to welcome her back." "Mr. Chin, don't you think you're being too hasty?" Actually, Chinju said all this on purpose. Father Tang did not seem to care about Tangwa's return at all. "Set up a mourning hall at home?" A woman's voice came from upstairs. A beautiful woman carrying a baby walked down. "Impossible. How can we do something so unlucky at home?" "Hubby," the woman shouted at Father Tang. "Our son was just born. How can we set up a mourning hall? What if the Yin energy gets to him?" "This is?" Chinju asked. "My wife." Father Tang quickly helped the woman to the sofa and patted her shoulder comfortingly. "Don't worry. I'll just get someone to buy a grave for her. I'll leave everything to Mr. Chin. We won't set up a mourning hall at home." Chinju's heart sank. He subconsciously looked at Tangwa, only to find her smiling from the side. In the end, she floated behind him and said softly, "This woman isn't my mother. Help me find out what happened in the past few years. As for the bones, take them away. There's no need to leave them here." Then, she floated to the television with a smile on her face. Seeing this smile, Chinju did not feel good. He wasn't even willing to give her a welcome ceremony. He didn't know if she would be disappointed. "I don't think this is Tangwa's biological mother." When the woman heard this, she said angrily, "Taoist priest, do you know how to speak? Do I look that old? Then I need to inform Tangwa's mother. She has the right to know about this." The woman's expression didn't look too good. Father Tang said, after Xiaogua's accident, her mother accidentally died in a car accident while looking for her. "Let's go, Chinju." Chinju nodded slightly and stood up. "Sorry to disturb you, Mr. Tang. Taoist priest, you haven't told me how much you want to pay for Xiaogua's funeral. Indeed, we can't do those unlucky things in this house. My son has just been born." Qinjiu said coldly. Since Mr. Tang doesn't welcome her, I can only take her to another place to bury her. With that, he left without looking back. Father Tang didn't ask him to stay. The woman beside him pursed her lips. Hubby, what does he mean? Nothing. Father Tang smiled carelessly and touched his son in the woman's arms. How can a dead person compare to a living one? The woman looked in Qinjiu's direction and smiled deeply. Yes, how could a dead person compare to a living one? Tangwa saw this woman's strange smile and fell into deep thought. I'll pick a place with good feng shui for you, Qinjiu said as they walked on the street. What kind of place do you like? Cemeteries are very expensive. I still have some savings. Chapter 8:14. After spending 3 days, Qinjiu calculated the location of a cemetery with good feng shui. Of course, the price was not cheap. After knowing the price, he did not hesitate and bought the cemetery and buried Tangwa's body. Knowing that Tangwa was not a normal ghost, he did not send her soul to the afterlife. He just buried her in the ground. You're really generous. That's a few $100,000. Daoist Qin, you don't seem to be stingy. Tangwa sat on her tombstone and swung her legs, smiling as she spoke to Qinjiu. I don't lack money in the mortal world. Even if I lack money, I can earn it back by taking 2 jobs. You gave me the immortal sword, so of course I have to do these things for you. Qinjiu said seriously. After looking for a few days, this cemetery has the best feng shui in the city. It's warm in the winter and cool in the summer. If you want to live here in the future, it'll be good for cultivation. Tangwa held her chin and watched as Qinjiu placed a bouquet of flowers in front of the tombstone. Daoist Qin is quite ostentatious. Who did you learn to give flowers to? Aren't they all like this? Qinjiu subconsciously said, Don't you like these flowers? Which one do you like? I'll buy it for you. It's quite good. Tangwa hooked her finger and the bouquet of flowers fell into her hand. She sniffed it and said, The flowers will wither in a while. Elder Qin, I don't lack money or flowers. What I lack now is beautiful clothes. Qinjiu was stunned. Tangwa pointed to her white shoes and sports dress. These clothes are from 3 years ago. They're outdated and don't look good. Take me to buy some new clothes. What Qinjiu wanted to say was that even if the clothes were not nice, outdated, and old, when worn by this female ghost, they could not hide her beauty. Of course, he did not need to say these words to her. He did not want her to laugh at him. All right. Qinjiu looked at this beautiful female ghost and her old clothes. He felt pity for her. Then I'll take you to a big mall. You can choose whatever you like. He thought that the immortal sword in exchange for 20 years of service was a great deal. Therefore, he wanted to treat this beautiful female ghost better. In the past, she was a lonely ghost. Now, she was a female ghost who could not return to her home. Thinking about it, she was indeed a little pitiful. Sure. Tangwa floated down and followed beside Qinjiu. Qinjiu hailed a taxi and asked the driver to drive them to the mall. 10 minutes later, the man and the ghost arrived at the mall. They went straight to the women's wear section. It was Qinjiu's first time coming to this place. In the resting area, there were many men waiting. Most of the women were happily trying on clothes. It was indeed very eye-catching for someone like him to stare at women's clothing and wear a Taoist robe while walking among countless women. However, Qinjiu was already used to these gazes. No matter how they looked at him, whenever he saw that Tangwa liked something, he would immediately go over and take the one that fit her size. In just 10 minutes, he was already holding 10 beautiful clothes in his hands, which attracted the attention of the salesperson. Sir, are all the clothes here for purchase? Yes. Qinjiu's face didn't turn red and his heart didn't skip a beat. He nodded very seriously. Give me a basket. I still want to buy a lot. I can't even carry all of them in my hands. All right, please wait for a moment. When the salesperson turned and left, her face was still filled with shock. She had worked here for many years and had seen many men buy women's clothes. Most of them were gifts for their girlfriends. Chapter 8:15. But this man was a Taoist priest, and he had chosen the latest designs. The designs were all pretty good. He did not have the taste of a straight man. Most importantly, he had so much in his hands, and even said that he wanted to buy a lot. He could not fit all of them. The surrounding girls also looked at Chinjio, who was seriously choosing clothes. They looked at their boyfriends in the resting area, and their faces fell. If I had known, I would have found a Taoist priest as my boyfriend. That's right. Her taste in clothes is even better than ours. Look at our boyfriends. They've only been to 3 or 4 shopping malls, and they look like they have nothing left to live for. Look at the handsome Taoist priest. He's good-looking and bought a lot. He's the perfect boyfriend. Chinjio heard those words, but he did not care. Tanghua could not help but laugh. Taoist priest, they all want to be your girlfriend. I'm only interested in catching demons. I'm not interested in women, Chinjio said seriously, and slowly put the clothes into the basket. Tanghua smiled as she floated around him. Is that so? Then you're going to lose your job. There are fewer and fewer demons now, and there aren't many evil demons anymore. That's 20 years later, Chinjio said with a smile. In these 20 years, I won't lose my job. Even if I lose my job, it won't be a loss. Tanghua knew that he was talking about the cultivation spiritual bead and the immortal sword, and did not continue the topic. This guy only wanted to catch demons in this world. If you're not interested in women, then are you interested in female ghosts? Chinjio heard that, and his hands trembled. He raised his head to look at the smiling female ghost. What do you mean? Tanghua floated in front of him. It means exactly what I said. I'm a female ghost. Taoist priest, do you want to have a human ghost romance? No, forget it. I still only like catching demons. Chinjio quickly shook his head, but her words echoed in his mind many times. What was this female ghost saying? She wanted to have a ghost romance with him? Tanghua looked regretful. Is Taoist priest not interested in me? I only catch demons, Chinjio said. Hurry up and choose. What else do you like? It's rare for you to come to the shopping mall. Taoist priest, you didn't deny your interest in me. Love between humans and ghosts will not end well. Chinjia's expression turned serious. Even if you are a ghost cultivator, in the future, I will go to the immortal realm, and you will go to the ghost realm. People of different paths cannot work together. Oh, that's really a pity. Tanghua smiled. Indeed, I will only stay in this place for 20 years. If something really happened between you and me, it would be a little cruel to leave you alone in this world after 20 years. Those who stay behind will suffer even more. Tanghua noticed that Chinjio was frowning as if he was thinking about something. She interrupted him. Taoist Chin, I'm just joking with you. Hurry up and help me choose some clothes. Later, when you go to my grave, burn them for me. Okay. Chinjio came back to his senses and hesitated for a moment. Are you really joking? I was just joking. Did you take it seriously? Tanghua asked in surprise. Taoist Chin, you can't be tempted by me, right? After all, I'm so beautiful. It's not strange for you to fall head over heels for me. Chinjio almost dropped the basket. Hurry up and see if there's anything you like. Stop joking with me. She said it so seriously that he almost took it seriously. As expected, in this world, the more beautiful a woman was, the better she was at speaking nonsense. No, the one in front of him was a ghost, so what she said was nonsense. Chapter 8:16. Tanghua floated around and picked out many beautiful clothes. In the end, Chinjio brought all the clothes back to the grave and burned them for her. There were dozens of sets in total, as well as all sorts of beautiful shoes. Chinjio stood in front of Tanghua's grave and looked at her sitting on the tombstone, her clothes and shoes constantly changing. She looked so happy that he couldn't help but smile. Taoist Chin, does this look good? Yes. What about this one? Yes. What about this one? They all look good. Tanghua, Taoist Chin, do you only know how to use the word good to describe it? Chinjio smiled. I'm speaking the truth. It really does look good. System, dear host, allow me to interrupt. Chinjio is a straight man. If he says it looks good, then it should be true. I feel that using the word good to describe it is not wrong. Tanghua giggled. System, you're a straight system too, right? System, he shouldn't have interrupted. Tanghua put on all the clothes and finally chose the one she thought looked the best. She floated to Chinjio's side. Taoist Chin, Help me investigate the cause of my mother's death. Qinjia's expression became more serious. Okay. The next day, Qinjiu used the clues he got from Tanghua and interviewed many people who knew her mother to understand the cause and effect of the car accident. I remember that it was 3 years ago. Tanghua said that she went on a vacation and never came back. At that time, Song Xiaoyan was looking for her everywhere. Later on, she even asked Tanghua's classmates. She only knew that they parted at a very remote place. She said goodbye to us hurriedly and said that she was going to look for her. Not long after, I heard that she died in a car accident. I heard that the Tang family also went to look for her, but they couldn't find her. They also called the police. There hasn't been any news for 3 years. Tanghua said beside Qinjiu. Ask her how long after my mother's accident my father remarried. Qinjiu asked accordingly. The woman's expression became slightly strange. She said softly, not long, about 2 months. At that time, I heard that the woman was pregnant, but she died in an accident. Little Taoist priest, let me tell you. At that time, the death of that woman's child was very strange. The Tang family moved because of that incident. The woman said in a low voice, I saw that you're a Taoist priest and don't look like a bad person. I used to have a good relationship with Song Xiaoyun. She helped me a lot when I was in trouble. Since you're asking me about this, you must have something in mind, right? Qinju nodded. I was asked by someone to investigate the truth. All right then, I'll only tell you about this matter. The woman looked around. In fact, no one was paying attention to her at all. She still looked around carefully before she spoke. There's something strange about the villa where the family used to live. After that woman and child died, I accidentally found out about it. Later, they hired a ghost hunter and said that there was something unclean inside. Not long after, they moved out. That villa hasn't been sold yet. Every time someone went to ask around, they heard that a Taoist priest had been there, but they weren't willing to buy it. That's all I know. Little Taoist priest, I suspect that the thing that appeared in the villa is very likely Xiaoyan's ghost. If you're really capable, you should go and take a look. Maybe you can find something. At that time, I always wondered why Xiaoyan got into trouble so easily. She has always been a careful and vigilant person, but the woman smiled. As an outsider, I can't care so much. Chapter 8:17. Tanghua and Qinjiu came to Family Tang's original villa. When they arrived, it was already very late. It was quieter here, so they climbed over the wall and entered. Tanghua floated in easily. Qinjiu was quite skilled as well. When they first came, they thought that Family Tang had moved out and this place belonged to someone else. That was why they did not climb over. Now that they knew that the villa was not sold, it belonged to Family Tang. Tanghua was the owner of the villa, so she could enter. The villa was very clean. It was obvious that someone often came to clean it. What did you see? Tanghua asked Qinjiu. Qinjiu shook his head. I didn't see anything. What about you? Tanghua shook her head as well. I didn't feel any other ghosts. If there were, they might have been caught or destroyed. Her expression was cold. Just as the woman had said, the ghost that appeared here was most likely her mother, Song Xiaoyun. I'm familiar with the Taoist priests who catch ghosts. With Family Tang's status, they probably wouldn't hire someone without a name. I'll help you ask around and see who has come to Family Tang to catch ghosts. After Qinjiu finished speaking, he took out his phone and found a group chat. He sent his question to the group chat. Tanghua glanced at the screen and smiled. Your circle is so trendy now. There's even a group chat. We can't fall behind. If we gather together, it'll be easier to get business. It'll be convenient for many big bosses to contact each other. The group leader and group administrator are responsible for contacting those bosses. Qinjiu said nonchalantly, even if you're a Taoist priest, you have to keep up with the times. Those profiteers are more cunning than the last. If you fall behind, you'll be cheated easily. Hearing this, Tanghua burst into laughter. I can tell you've been cheated before. In the beginning, I was cheated badly. Qinjiu did not mind digging up his own dark history. I didn't earn a single cent from my first business. I had just left the mountain. That day, I rested under the bridge. The next day, I sat on a bench in the park for the whole night. On the third day, I earned money for lunch. And then, How did you earn your first bucket of gold? Tanghua asked curiously. Chinju sat down and shared. I passed by the park. You know, there are many fortune tellers in the park. I know, but I also know that most of the things here are lies. Chinju nodded. The fortune teller I saw at the park that day was lying. But after a few days of lessons, I didn't expose them. Instead, I sat aside and watched how they received business. They don't need to calculate accurately. Usually, there are two methods. One is to look on the bright side. If the customer is happy, they will be very generous. Secondly, if the customers are worried, they will ask him to think of a solution. At this time, he can promote his products, such as fake talismans and fake evil-warding jade pendants. Those people are stupid and will really buy them. Then you learned it? Yes, but the things I took out were all real. My prices were also more expensive than theirs. Later, I slowly gained a reputation and stopped setting up my stall in the park. Tanghua floated around for a while. She really liked the feeling of floating. She turned around and said, I'm guessing that when your business was good, you must have been ganged up by the fortune tellers in the park. They wanted to beat you up, but in the end, you beat them up badly. You're so smart. You even guessed that. Tanghua floated in front of Qinjiao and blinked. Of course, I'm a smart and beautiful female ghost. The face that was so close to him made Qinjiao feel uncomfortable. He quickly looked down at his phone. Someone had already answered him. Who is it? Tanghua asked. Chapter 8:18. Feng Tianshi, Qinjiao replied. Qinjiao replied with a complicated expression. He looked at Tanghua and observed her expression. If the ghost in the villa was really Song Xiaoyun, then it would be fine if Song Xiaoyun was captured by Feng Tianshi. But if she was killed by Feng Tianshi, he was sure that the ghost in front of him would not hesitate to kill Feng Tianshi. Even though they had not known each other for long, he knew her well. From her attitude towards the village, he could tell that she was not a soft-hearted ghost. Instead, she was a vengeful ghost. What's the relationship between Feng Tianshi and Feng Yunqi? Tanghua asked with a smile. Qinjiao glanced at her and replied, He's Feng Yunqi's master. Was Feng Yunqi there at the time?
Yes.
Oh, other than the two of them, was there anyone else involved? Qinjiao paused. Let me ask. He sent this question in the group and soon received an answer. At the time, they were also approached by your father. Later, they came to the mansion to look around and rejected them. Why? It's a cycle of karma. Don't be fooled by the TV series. Even though Taoists catch ghosts, they don't care about all kinds of ghosts. At least, most Taoists don't care about ghosts that have karma. Only when the ghost implicates other innocent people will they take action. Otherwise, if they take action, it will result in karma. Tanghua was curious. Then why did Feng Tianshi dare to accept? He's an exception. Qinjiao coughed lightly. He's called the most righteous Taoist by many bosses. As long as it's a ghost-catching job, he will accept it regardless of karma. In his mind, ghosts no longer belong to the human world. Since they want to disturb the human world and harm people, they should be destroyed. I suspect that he watched too many ghost movies when he was young, and that's why he developed this kind of thinking. Tanghua had a look of realization. I was wondering why Feng Yunqi looked so retarded. It turns out that he has such a righteous master. He's the type of Taoist that I hated the most in the ghost-catching TV series when I was young. Do your friends know what happened to the ghost in the end? Tanghua was a bit concerned about this. I'll ask again. After Qinjiao sent this question, the group fell silent for a moment before someone replied. I heard from that brat Feng Yunqi that the ghost's soul dissipated. When Tanghua saw this line of words, her face turned cold. Her smile turned into a sneer. It turned out that his soul had been destroyed. That ghost seems to have caused a woman to miscarry. Normally, under such circumstances, Feng Tianshi would not send this kind of ghost that has harmed human lives to the temple. It must have been destroyed. Qinjiao, why are you asking about this? Could it be that you've accepted a job related to this family Tang? Qinjiao, don't be blinded by money. There was something wrong with Feng Tianqi's brain. He always thought that ghosts could not exist in this world, that ghosts could not exist among humans. Ghosts that killed people must die, and ghosts that did not kill people must be sent to the afterlife to be purified. but you're different. The cause and effect of family tang is complicated. You can't get involved. Once you get involved, you won't be able to get away. Just wait and see. One day, Feng Tianshi will die because of karma. It's a pity that brat Feng Yunqi was also led astray. His future is bleak. When Tangwa saw this sentence, her eyes narrowed. It seems that most Taoists are reasonable people. The group was noisy. Qinju said that he would leave first and turned off his phone. Are you going to find Feng Tianshi for revenge? Let's make things clear first. Chapter 8:19. For the next few days, Qinjiu became busier as he searched for clues about Song Xiaoyun's accident. The problem was that the place where Song Xiaoyun got into the accident was a small road and there were no surveillance cameras around. The driver who caused the accident could not be found. No matter how rich the family Tang was, they would not be able to find a fugitive in this place. There were not many cars on this small road in a day. At that moment, Qinjiu was in a difficult situation. There are no clues at all. My divination method is not accurate. A human and a ghost were currently on the small road. At this moment, Tangwa took out the spirit summoning banner that Mo Yuntian had given her. When Qinju saw this eerie thing, even his soul felt a chill. As expected, this female ghost was not simple. She had an immortal weapon and a ghost weapon. What was her background? It was definitely not as simple as being the daughter of the family Tang. Could it be that she was originally a powerful ghost king in the ghost world and wanted to experience life, so she reincarnated into the human world? Qinjia, what are you thinking about? Tangwa noticed that Qinjia's expression was complicated. His eyes were blank as if he was in deep thought. She looked at him with a smile. Are you thinking about how beautiful I am? Qinjia's mouth twitched. Who could tell him why there was such a narcissistic female ghost in this world? Is this a ghost weapon? Yes, I plan to summon the ghosts around. There are a lot of wandering ghosts on the road. I'll be able to get something out of them. That's good too. Qinju agreed. He stood a little further away. This ghost weapon had some effect on him. It gave his soul a very uncomfortable feeling. If he did not control it, he felt that his soul would float up. Qinju, refine the immortal sword. Then you won't be afraid of the spirit summoning banner. Qinju remembered that he still had the immortal sword. He quickly did as he was told. After a while, the immortal sword was refined by him. At this time, when he approached the spirit summoning banner, he did not feel the eerie feeling from before. His soul was also stable in his body and did not feel like floating out. About an hour later, there were many ghosts around Tangwa. Because she had the spirit summoning banner, she did not need to use her strength to scare them. All the ghosts were very obedient and waited for her to speak. I only have one question. She told them about Song Xiaoyun's accident 3 years ago. She asked them to recall who had killed Song Xiaoyun, whether they could remember the license plate number, and what the driver looked like. Many of them were new ghosts. They shook their heads, indicating that they were still human 3 years ago, and Tangwa had let them go. The remaining ghosts that had existed for a long time all frowned as they thought about what had happened 3 years ago. Tangwa thought about it, and had Qinjiu show them Song Xiaoyun's picture. Take a look at the photos before you recall. With the photo, a few of the little ghosts quickly said that they remembered. Their memories were not complete, but with the help of the ghosts, they were able to piece together the car plate number. As for the driver's face, they couldn't remember it clearly. They only knew that it was a tall man and nothing else. With the license plate number, it would be easy to find the person. Tangwa glanced at them. Why are you still wandering ghosts? Didn't your family take you home? If they were not taken home by their family, the ghosts would not be able to leave the place where they had the accident. After a long time, they would become wandering ghosts and could not be reincarnated. These little ghosts looked unrecognizable. They were all very pitiful. They indicated that they were foreigners and their family did not take them home. They had become wandering ghosts. Oh, then I'll help you release your souls and send you to reincarnation, Tangwa said with a smile. Consider it as a thank you for helping me. Chapter 8:20. Qinju did not dare to believe it. Could a ghost chant sutras for other ghosts? But what was that female ghost sitting cross-legged over there, covered in Buddhist light? The sutras she chanted had already turned into golden runes that floated into the little ghost's body. Did he see a ghost? That's not right. Other than him, there were ghosts everywhere. Didn't he see a ghost? That female ghost had a benevolent look on her face. At this moment, she did not look like a female ghost. She did not have a trace of ghostly aura around her. She looked very peaceful, like a senior monk, and the little ghosts sitting around her were so comfortable that they were about to fall asleep. The souls that were originally unrecognizable gradually became clear. They returned to how they were when they were alive. The ghostly aura and grievous energy also disappeared. When the souls became transparent, Tangwa stopped chanting. Tangwa looked at the little ghosts that were looking at her with gratitude. She formed a hand seal and a door appeared beside them. This was the gate of reincarnation. You can go. The little ghosts knelt down and bowed to her. Then, they jumped into the gate of reincarnation happily. Tangwa looked at their happy faces and felt a little envious. At the same time, she sighed to the system. Actually, after going through so many worlds, it's not that it's useless. At least now, I know what I need and what I need. If possible, I also want to help myself. But it seems like it's useless. Her Buddhist teachings were learned from a senior monk. They were good friends. When she was about to die, she even begged the other party to help her transcend. She wanted him to send her into the cycle of reincarnation. At that time, she did enter the gate of reincarnation. But when she opened her eyes, she was in a different world. Thinking about this, it was quite annoying. Taoist Qin, why are you looking at me? After Tangwa sighed, she realized that Qin Zhu was looking at her intently. If you stare at me like this, I will misunderstand. Qin Zhu looked away. Thinking about what happened just now, he still did not dare to believe it. This beautiful female ghost was really mysterious. A ghost helping another ghost to reincarnate. This was really unheard of. You misunderstood. Qin Zhu hurriedly explained. Now that we have the car plate number, let's move immediately. Sure. Tangwa did not delve too deeply into this issue. They were both familiar souls, but they had no memories. Their outlook on life was also different. Although she felt that the other party was a little cute, it was not a bad idea to develop a relationship. If he really could not seduce her, she could only let it go. She was not someone who would force others. However, for those who were interested, it was okay to fight for more. She floated to Qin Zhu's side and asked with a smile, Taoist Qin, are you really not planning to have a spectacular human ghost love? Qin Zhu didn't dare to look at her face. That face was too beautiful, and those eyes were too mesmerizing. He was afraid that if he looked at her for too long, he would fall into her trap and have a human ghost love affair with her. Female ghosts were the best at bewitching people. He was afraid that one day, he would be bewitched. All Taoist priests understood that the obstacle to the love between human and ghost was not other people, but themselves. They would definitely be separated in the future, so it was better to have nothing in the beginning. The love between a human and a ghost isn't good for either of us. Taoist Qin, do you mean that if I were a human, you wouldn't mind? Qin Zhu paused and replied, not necessarily. When it comes to feelings, you have to like each other. Oh, Tangwa dragged her voice. So that was the case. Then how can Taoist Qin be sure that you won't like me in the future? After all, I'm so beautiful. Qin Zhu's expression was a little unsure whether to laugh or cry. This beautiful female ghost was really narcissistic. Chapter 821. I will restrain myself. He looked at Tangwa and answered seriously. Ah, Taoist Qin, are you saying that you will restrain yourself from having feelings for me? Tangwa continued. You even used the word restrain. It seems that Taoist Qin's heart is already wavering. There's no such thing. Qin Zhu quickened his steps. I have never seen a female ghost as talkative as you. Not only was she talkative, but she was also very thick-skinned. Did she really think that she could do whatever she wanted just because she was pretty? Didn't I see it now? Qin Zhu's expression was a bit helpless. Can we not talk about this? If he continued, his mind would not be able to control its thoughts. Tangwa looked at him with a smile. All right, I won't talk about it. I won't tease you anymore. I'm just too bored and want to talk to you more. Qin Zhu suddenly thought of her past. No matter how powerful her background was, he could still feel a sense of loneliness from her. Even if she looked at him with a smile and teased him, he still felt that she was a very lonely person. If you want to talk, then talk. Qingjia's steps slowed down. I will give you an answer. Although you might not be satisfied with the final answer, if you really want to talk, then I will talk with you. Really? Tangua's lips curled up. Qingjio answered, of course. You spent a lot of money to hire me for 20 years. After saying that, Qingjio felt a bit of regret. Actually, he wanted to talk with her, not because of the immortal sword. He subconsciously looked at her expression and did not see any signs of anger. He let out a sigh of relief. Then I won't hold back. When Qingjio heard that, he was speechless. Daoist Qin, how old are you this year? Tangua asked. Qingjio answered, 25. What kind of question was that? You're a bit young. If I was still alive, I would be 20. Just enough to get married. You and I are only 4 or 5 years apart. It's just right. We're quite compatible. Qingjio, do you have a wife? Qingjio, no. Do you want to find a wife? I only want to catch demons. Tangua floated lazily and rested her chin on one hand. Have you ever had a woman? My heart is set on catching demons to earn money. Qingjio answered seriously. Why did this female ghost keep asking him these personal questions? Why did he have to answer them? It was as if she was checking his account. Oh, that means you haven't. You're already 25, and you haven't had a woman yet. How strange. Qingjio was speechless. Before his master died, he was 80 years old and had never had a woman. He thought that he was still very young. He was only 25 years old. There would be plenty of opportunities in the future. Then, Taoist priest Qin, what kind of woman do you like? Tangua asked him with a smile. Qingjia's mouth was already trembling uncontrollably. He quickly replied, I'm focused on catching demons and making money. I'm very busy and have no time. I've never thought about it. Since you're quite free now, do you want to think about it? System, you've played too much. Host, you're so bad, so bad. I'm too inexperienced. I can't figure out what kind of person I like. Maybe I'll only know when I meet her, or maybe I'll never meet her in my entire life. Wasn't his master one of them? He thought that he would just muddle along for the rest of his life. Moreover, his talent was not bad. Who knew? He might become an immortal one day. Then if you meet her, don't miss the chance. Tangua raised her chin and pointed at herself. For example, if you have any feelings for me, you have to confess to me as soon as possible. Chapter 822. Qingjio wanted to say that it was impossible for him to have any thoughts about the female ghost, even if she was very beautiful. However, just as he was about to say it, something flashed through his mind and he swallowed his words. Taoist Qin, you seem to want to say something, but you stopped? Qingjio quickly shook his head. No, nothing at all. Let's talk about something else. Don't keep talking about me. Qingjio changed the topic. For example, let's talk about you. He was very curious about her. Tangua's smile did not disappear. This little Taoist priest was really too cute. All right, I'll listen to you. Let's talk about me. That's right, you don't even know me well. So why would you have any thoughts about me? Tangua nodded, ignoring Qingjio's face that was about to crack. Since Taoist Qin wants to know more about us, then I'll talk about me. My name is Tangua. I told you before that I was 17 when I died. It's been 3 years since then, and I'm a little over 20 now. I think I'm quite good-looking. I'm a ghost now, but I'm quite capable. Not only can I float, but I can also materialize. So, after we're in a relationship, it's not a problem for us to do some intimate things. Qingjio was speechless. He regretted asking her to talk about you. After interacting with her for so many days, he should have known that this female ghost was taking advantage of him. She was completely thick-skinned. If we're together, I promise that I'll only like you and treat you well. Of course, the premise is that you can only like me and treat me well. You're not allowed to betray me. Tangua smiled and said, now that I'm a ghost and Taoist Qin is alone, there won't be any obstacles if we're together. If there are any moralists who want to meddle in our business, you don't have to be afraid. I'll take care of as many as they come. I won't let anyone bully you. If they dare to gossip, I'll catch them and beat them until they don't dare to meddle in our business. In any case, I'll treat you very, very well. Dawish Qin, are you tempted? Qinjia's heart skipped a beat. He could tell that she was not joking. Those beautiful eyes were so clear that one could see the bottom. They were like bright stars. There was no calculation in them, only pure expression of her thoughts. Do ghosts like to dream in broad daylight? Qinjiu shifted his gaze away. All right, we're about to reach the train station. Let's get down to business first. He couldn't help but think that this female ghost actually said that she wanted to protect him. Even if something were to happen between them, shouldn't he be the one protecting her? Don't all the women in this world want their man to protect them? Of course, the men naturally wanted to protect their women. This female ghost was indeed a little special. Dawish Qin, I'm not joking. If you think it through and think that you like me, you should confess to me as soon as possible. I'm only going to stay here for 20 years. When I'm gone, you'll never have the chance to see me again. Qinjiu responded vaguely and did not say anything else. System, dear host, this Taoist priest is not enlightened. You can't provoke him. Fine, I won't move. I'm just flirting out of habit. If he likes me, then everyone's happy. If he doesn't like me, then I can't force him. System, if that's the case, doesn't dear host feel that it's a pity? This kid is quite likable. He's not a moralist. Chapter 8:23. It's a little regretful, but I can't just tie her up and force her, can I? The system didn't understand, but he was husband and wife with the host in his previous life. Like you said, that was his previous life. In this life, he doesn't have any memories of his previous life. He is a different person. Do you understand? Tongzi, we have to improve and not live in the past. System. Shit. Tangwa suddenly stopped talking, and the surroundings became quiet. Qinjiu was not used to it, and subconsciously turned to look at her, only to find that she was leisurely looking at the surrounding scenery. Occasionally, two wild ghosts would appear and wander around. She would pat their heads, and the little ghosts would tremble in fear, not daring to move at all. When she floated away, the little ghosts all heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly floated away. Qinjiu was speechless. With the license plate number, Qinjiu used his connections in the mortal world to quickly obtain information about the owner of the license plate number. They found the owner of the car. He was a skinny man, different from the ghost description. After Qinjiu tested him, he believed that he was not the driver who caused the accident. In the end, he asked the owner of the car and found out that he had bought the car secondhand 3 years ago. Following this lead, they found out who the original owner of the car was and found his address. The perpetrator lived in a high-end residential area with excellent security. Without the consent of the occupant, he could not enter. I'll go in. Tangwa said, it's better if I go in. I'll disguise myself as my mother and go in. If the other party still remembers my mother, they'll definitely give themselves away. After that, it will be much easier to find out the truth. Qinjiu hesitated for a moment before saying, be careful. Do you think anyone can hurt me? Tangwa turned around and smiled. However, I'm glad that Dawish Qin is so concerned about my safety. Go in quickly and find out the truth. Qinjia's expression was unnatural as he said. Tangwa floated into the upscale neighborhood. Qinjiu stood not far from the neighborhood and watched her figure disappear. Even though he knew that she was very powerful, he was still worried. He remembered the flirtatious words that the female ghost had said earlier. She had said that if they were together, she would only like him. If she was a human, he might have been swayed. Qinjiu hurriedly shook his head. His expression was normal as he muttered, Qinjiu, a demon-catching Taoist is born to catch demons. All they think about is catching demons and earning money. Look for a woman? I will never look for a woman in this lifetime. After about an hour, Qinjiu would occasionally look at the residential area. The guards of the residential area all stared at this strange man in a Taoist robe warily, thinking that he was scouting the area. In the end, he decided to just keep an eye on the neighborhood. Another half an hour later, Tangwa floated out from inside. He couldn't help but relax. When Tangwa floated in front of him, he asked, how are you? At the same time, He did not realize that he was secretly observing her to see if she was injured. It's him. Do you know who's behind this? Tangwa's expression did not look good. Soon, her somewhat gloomy face raised into a smile. It's the woman my father just married. The man in the neighborhood is her brother. According to the other party, she was originally my father's assistant, but by chance, she became my father's lover. My mother shouldn't know about this. Otherwise, with her personality, she would definitely fire that woman. After I went missing, my mother went to look for me. She asked her brother to kill my mother with a car. Chapter 8:24. Then what do you want me to do for you? Shinjio felt pity for her. Tell me what you want me to do. No need. He'll turn himself in immediately. Tangwa smiled. Have you forgotten that I'm a ghost? There's a trick called being possessed. I've used it on him. After he goes to the police station, he'll obediently tell me everything. Do you want to eat anything? I'll take you there. Tangwa looked at Shinjio with a smile. Of course I won't reject your treat. I want to eat anything. Are you sure you can eat those things? Shinjio hesitated. Tangwa nodded. Yes. That day, the perpetrator went to the police station to turn himself in. Not only did he confess that he had killed Song Xiaoyun 3 years ago, but he also confessed that he was the mastermind behind it. When the woman was taken away, Tangwa floated in the family Tang villa. She watched the woman's face turn pale as she was dragged away. In the end, she stared at Father Tang, wanting to say something. Father Tang was holding their child in his arms. She looked at the child for a long time, but in the end, she didn't say anything and was taken away with a defeated expression. Tangwa saw this scene and narrowed her eyes. It seemed that this matter wasn't simple. She didn't leave immediately. Instead, she followed Father Tang to the study. Father Tang, who should have been in pain because his late wife was killed, was sitting leisurely on the expensive leather chair. He had a smile on his face as he teased the child. This is good too. Such a vicious woman will be a disaster if we keep her by our side. I only said that if Xiaoyun died, I would definitely marry her. I didn't expect her to take it seriously and even asked her brother to kill Xiaoyun. Father Tang smiled. I really didn't expect her to succeed. Not only did she succeed, but she also secretly got pregnant with my son. Speaking of this, his face darkened. I never expected Xiaoyun's ghost to come back. Fortunately, all of this was done by her. It has nothing to do with me. Now, Xiaoyun's soul has been destroyed, and that vicious woman has been locked up. For the sake of our child, she will not say anything. Even if she does, it has nothing to do with me, Tang Lushing. The Tang Corporation belongs to me, Tang Lushing alone. Hearing this, how could Tangwa not understand? Tang Lushing didn't come from a good background. Later, he was admitted to a good school and got to know Song Xiaoyun, who came from a good family. He used his sincerity to move Song Xiaoyun. The two of them got married after graduation. Tang Lu became the son-in-law of the Song family. Because Song Xiaoyun loved him a lot, and he had some ability, the Song family gave him a portion of the shares. However, Tang Lushing, who had seen the prosperity, gradually felt dissatisfied. Song Xiaoyun was still a jealous lover. She had a temper and couldn't bear to see him talking to other women. As time went on, he became more and more dissatisfied. Song Xiaoyun wasn't just a young lady. After the two elders of the Song family passed away, she could totally manage the Song group with her ability. Tang Lushing had never been successful. His wife was very capable and often made him feel ashamed. After being dissatisfied, the more Song Xiaoyun didn't want him to get close to other women, the more he wanted to get close to them. He secretly had an affair with several women. Among them, the one who was most loyal to him was the woman who had been captured earlier. He thought that he could only be suppressed by Song Xiaoyun for the rest of his life. He didn't expect that when something happened to Tangwa, Song Xiaoyun couldn't wait to find her. Because she was anxious, she went alone. He once mentioned to that woman that if Song Xiaoyun didn't exist, he would definitely marry her. Chapter 8:25. That woman took it seriously, which was why Song Xiaoyun was killed by a car. At first, Tang Lushing was still a little afraid, but later on, everything in the Song group fell into his hands, and he even changed the Song group surname to Tang. That woman came to him. saying that she was pregnant, and even said that she did it and wanted him to marry her. That was when he took over the company, and his position was not stable yet. He did not like being threatened, but he still married her. When the company was stable and everything was in his hands, Song Xiaoyun's ghost came back and caused that woman to have a miscarriage. He found a Taoist priest and destroyed Song Xiaoyun's ghost. At that time, he was still a little regretful that Song Xiaoyun did not kill that woman. He was also afraid that Song Xiaoyun would do something to him, so he did not dare to delay. Now, the only threat to him was gone, and he still had a son. As long as he raised him, this son would only listen to him, so he had nothing to worry about. Tanghua heard Tang Lusheng talking to himself. Looking at the other party's relaxed smile, she also smiled. Possessed. She made a hand seal and cast demonic obsession on Tang Lusheng. Instantly, Tang Lusheng's heart flashed, but it was only for a moment, and Tang Lusheng did not even notice it. If he opened his clothes, he would definitely find that the talisman given to him by Feng Tianshi had turned to ashes. The system hid in the corner, watching all this while trembling. Every time it saw the host cast possessed, it felt especially scared. Tang Lusheng, who was originally full of smiles, retracted his smile, took out his phone, and dialed a number. "It's me, Tang Lusheng. Boss Tang, do you have anything to say? I'm going to sell the shares in my hands, and the villa I live in, as well as some of my private property and collections. Help me donate all the money from the sale. Assistant Chun, help me arrange it as soon as possible. My time is limited." After Tang Lusheng hung up the phone, he sat in his seat in a daze, like a wooden man. Tanghua's lips curled up slightly. He had nothing to begin with, and he was not satisfied with everything he had. If it were not for his hint, my mother would not have been killed by a car. It's not too much to let him have nothing again. Yes, it was not too much. The host was too kind. The original recipe had the same taste. The host's great revenge always liked to take away what the other party cared about the most. Tanghua was in a good mood and floated out of the villa. When Qinju saw her coming out, he hurriedly asked, "What took you so long? Are you concerned about me or worried about me?" Tanghua suddenly moved closer to him, scaring him so much that he took a step back. Seeing this, Tanghua smiled. "I just found out the truth by accident and did something. That's why it took me a while." "What truth?" Tanghua told Qinju everything. After hearing this, Qinju couldn't help but shake his head. Then he asked for it. "Tang Lusheng has a talisman around his neck, but it's useless to me. Now that the talisman has turned to ashes, do you think the alchemist will come?" Qinju's expression turned serious. "He should be here. Feng Tianqi's cultivation is very high. Many powerful evil spirits have fallen into his hands." Qinju said worriedly, "Don't walk alone for now. Follow me." Tanghua's eyes lit up. "You mean, if the alchemist wants to kill me, you will definitely protect me? Didn't you hire me?" Qinju replied seriously. "Oh, is that so?" Hearing the disappointment in her voice, Qinju was slightly anxious. "Well, even if you didn't hire me, we've known each other for so long. I will definitely help you." After saying this, he saw Tanghua's teasing gaze, and his ears turned red. Yes, I know." Tanghua's sweet smile made him speechless, and he actually kind of liked her smile. Damn it. Chapter 826. In 3 days, Tang Lusheng sold all of his shares and all of his personal assets. Many people who knew Tang Lusheng did not understand why he would suddenly make such a decision. Today was the day that Tang Lusheng moved out of the villa. He pulled his suitcase and wore a suit that was neither new nor old as he walked out of the villa. Tanghua floated to the side and watched as Tang Lusheng sold all of his assets and donated them. Seeing that Tang Lusheng did not have much money left, she happily floated around him. Qinju looked at her happy smile and also smiled. He stood in a hidden position, silently observing all of this. Suddenly, he saw a car parked not far away. 2 men in Taoist robes were running towards him at lightning speed. One of them was a Taoist in his 50s, and the other was in his early 20s. Tanghua also noticed them. She floated to Qinju's side and placed her hands on his back. The cold touch caused Qinju to shiver. "What are you doing?" "Taoist Qin, you haven't experienced being pressured by ghosts before. right? After all, your Taoist skills are very high. Normal ghosts wouldn't dare to approach you. Indeed, I haven't. Qingjia's body tensed up, not knowing what she was doing. Tanghua was amused by his nervous appearance. Taoist Qin, why are you so nervous? I didn't say that I was going to lie on your back. I'm just trying. She looked at the two people who were almost in front of Tang Lusheng. The person beside Feng Yunqi, is he Feng Tianchi? It's him. Be careful. He really does have some Taoist skills. Qingjie hesitated. If you want to lie on my back, then go ahead. He promised that he would protect her and not let Feng Tianchi hurt her. Naturally, he would do it. System. Fine. He fell for her again. He knew that regardless of whether this fellow had memories or not, as long as his host started flirting, he would not be able to control himself. Why aren't you waking up? Feng Tianchi rushed in front of Tang Lusheng and suddenly shouted. Tang Lusheng, who was about to pull his suitcase, suddenly woke up. His eyes became clear as he scanned his surroundings. He lowered his head and saw that he was pulling a suitcase. He was very puzzled. When he realized that the suit he was wearing was actually the one that Song Xiaoyan had bought for him a few years ago, his expression changed immediately. Ever since Song Xiaoyan's death, he had hired someone to destroy Song Xiaoyan's ghost. He had moved out of the old villa and did not bring anything that Song Xiaoyan had given him. So why was he wearing this suit? Mr. Tang, are you all right? Feng Tianchi asked, his expression serious as he scanned his surroundings. He held the roulette in his hand, as if he was sensing something. Tang Lusheng nodded. Master Feng, why are you here? I'm fine. Tang Lusheng did not understand why Feng Tianchi would ask him such a question. Suddenly, he remembered that he was wearing the suit that Song Xiaoyan had bought for him. He quickly asked, Master Feng, could it be that some ghost was not completely destroyed? Why would I wear this? Tang Lusheng was a little scared. He didn't dare to go back and change, afraid that there was something dirty inside. Feng Tianchi frowned. The yin qi here was clearly very heavy, but why didn't he discover the existence of ghosts? Hearing Tang Lusheng's question, he said, Mr. Tang, as soon as I came out of seclusion, I sensed that there was a problem with the talisman I gave you. I knew that you were in danger, so I came over without delay. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw you pulling your suitcase. I don't know where you're going. Chapter 8:27. What's wrong with me? Tang Lusheng was afraid. Could it be that Song Xiaoyun's ghost really came back to take revenge on him? The problem was that he wasn't the one who did it. If he wanted revenge, he would go to prison to find that woman. You've been possessed. That ghost cultivation is very high. If I hadn't come, I don't know when you would have woken up. Feng Tianchi's face was cautious. Mr. Tang, quickly take a look and see if you've done anything against your will these past few days. Okay, I'll check right away. Tang Lusheng felt uneasy. He heard that he had been possessed for several days. His entire body was in a state of unease. He quickly picked up the phone and called his assistant. Mr. Tang, are you asking about the donation? We have already donated all the donations for you. The orphanage and those poor schools have all sent you letters of gratitude. Thank you very much for your generosity in solving their urgent needs. I also admire you very much. Although I won't be your assistant in the future, you can still order me if you need anything. Donation? What donation? Tang Lusheng was suspicious, but he was not the impulsive type. After beating around the bush, he finally found out the truth. After hanging up the phone, he said with a pale face, I have nothing left. All the assets under my name are gone. This villa has also been sold, including the luxury goods, collections, and some expensive suits. Tang Lusheng's eyes turned red. The company's shares have also been sold. The money from the sale has been completely donated. Wah wah wah, the baby's cry attracted Tang Lusheng's attention. Only then did he remember that his back was a little heavy. It turned out that he was carrying a baby. Master Feng, you must help me. I don't know why, but everything was taken away by that hateful ghost. You must help me. When I get everything back, I will definitely pay you a high price. Tang Lusheng said anxiously. Feng Tianchi also frowned. So this ghost cast a spell on Tang Lusheng in order to make him lose everything. Since the other party didn't endanger people's lives, Then he would catch him and throw him to the temple to awaken. Mr. Tang, tell me slowly. What happened these past few days? Tang Lushing couldn't say anything at all. He only asked, Master Fong, is that ghost the ghost from before? I don't think so. Fong Tianshi shook his head. This ghost seems to only want to disperse your family's wealth and not harm your life. Mr. Tang, please carefully recall if you have offended anyone recently, or if you have met any special people or encountered any special things. These are all important. Tang Lushing fell into deep thought. After a long time, he said, speaking of which, there is indeed one thing that is rather special. What is it? Fong Tianshi asked anxiously. 3 years ago, my eldest daughter went on a trip and went missing. Tang Lushing's face darkened. Just a few days ago, an unknown number called me and told me that my eldest daughter had been killed and brought back her body. They wanted to ask me how to bury her. And then? Tang Lushing looked uncomfortable. Master Fong, you know that because of the ghost incident, my son was just born, so we can't have a mourning hall at home. So, I plan to buy a cemetery and bury him. I know this may be a little unfair to my eldest daughter, but if there really is a problem, my youngest son will definitely not be able to handle it. Chapter 828. So, Mr. Tang didn't set up a mourning hall? Fong Tianchi's expression was ugly. Do you know that if you don't set up a mourning hall, your eldest daughter won't have a home and will forever be a lonely ghost, unable to reincarnate? Since she can't reincarnate, she will naturally blame you. I'm afraid this matter has something to do with your eldest daughter. Ah, is that so? Tang Lushing's expression changed as he anxiously asked, then what should we do? Give me your eldest daughter's birth characters. I'll calculate and see if she's nearby. Moreover, if it really is her, Mr. Tang, you must persuade her to forgive you. Tang Lushing asked again, what if she doesn't forgive me? Then this Taoist can only take her away. Mr. Tang, please don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Tang Lushing quickly replied. He wouldn't mind even if he killed her, but he still said, if she changes, Master Fong shouldn't hurt her. That's natural. As long as she doesn't harm anyone's life, this Taoist won't let her soul scatter. Tang Lushing quickly reported Tang was birth characters and name. When Fong Yunqi heard the 2 words Tanghua, he couldn't help but ask, Tanghua? Yes, my eldest daughter is called Tanghua. Little master, is there a problem? Fong Tianshi also looked at Fong Yunqi. Fong Yunqi said, Master, I told you before that we met a very powerful female ghost in the mountain village. Her name is Tanghua. However, in this world, there shouldn't be such a coincidence. Tanghua looked at Fong Tianshi calculating over there, and the corners of her mouth curled up into a smile. If she was really the original owner, Fong Tianshi would be able to calculate her location. However, other than being the Tanghua here, she was also another Tanghua. Unless she allowed it, Fong Tianshi had no way of knowing her existence. What do you plan to do? Fong Tianshi, I won't let him go. Tanghua replied with a smile. Of course I want his life. Qinju didn't have any reaction. Then be careful. I'll help you stop Fong Yunqi. Fong Yunqi, that little luo, I don't care about him at all. I can send him flying to the wall with a wave of my sleeve. Qinju was amused by her arrogant tone. But you still have to be careful. Ghost-catching Taoists have a long history, and they have all kinds of methods. Even if they come from the same sect, their methods are all different. Especially Fong Tianshi, he has never shown mercy to ghosts. Taoist Qin, are you concerned about me? Tanghua blinked and met Qinju's gaze. Qinju felt a little uncomfortable, but he still said, if you think so, then so be it. Taoist Qin, if you care about me, just say it. Don't be shy. I won't laugh at you. I'm very happy to know that you care about me. Qinju's ears couldn't help but turn red. This female ghost was always indecent. Whenever there was a disagreement, she would say such ambiguous words to him. However, in his heart, he felt an inexplicable sense of joy. What do you plan to do? Qinju changed the topic. Tanghua narrowed her eyes. Doesn't Fong Tianshi like to catch ghosts? Just let him become a ghost. Taoist Qin, just wait for me here. I'll be fine. Don't worry. After saying this, without waiting for Qingjia's reply, Tanghua floated towards the villa. She purposely revealed some of her aura so that Feng Tianshi could sense it. Feng Tianshi indeed sensed it. He subconsciously shouted, "Tanghua, where are you going?" Chapter 829. Tanghua floated into the villa, and Feng Tianshi also rushed in with his sword. Feng Yunqi also wanted to go in, but after Feng Tianshi went in, the door closed. Feng Yunqi wanted to break in, but found that he couldn't open the door at all. For a moment, he anxiously waited at the door. "Little master, will there be any problems with Master Feng?" Tang Lushing asked worriedly. "Is that ghost my eldest daughter?" Looking at Master's reaction, it should be right. Feng Yunqi looked worried. Seeing Tang Lushing's worried look, he comforted him. "Mr. Tang, don't worry. My master's skills are high, and he has caught many malicious ghosts. The ghost inside can't do anything to him. Soon, he will release the ghost claw, and you won't be obstructed in the future. Yes, I believe in Master Feng." Tang Lushing looked worried, but a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. It would be best if Feng Tianshi could destroy the ghost inside. The mother and daughter were really troublesome. It was fine if they died, but he had to find them. Thinking that all his assets were gone, Tang Lushing hated it even more. He couldn't wait to go in and destroy the ghost himself. But thinking about what happened in the past few days, his back was cold. Qingju stood in the corner. In the end, he was still worried, so he quietly went around from the other side of the villa. But because the villa's security was too good, he still couldn't jump in. In the end, he had no choice but to wait outside with a worried expression. An hour passed, and Qingju was a little uneasy. His palms were sweaty. He looked at the silent villa. Just as he was about to destroy the villa's security and rush in with his sword, Tanghua floated out of the window. She floated in front of him and gently touched his face. Finally, she landed on his back. The cold touch made his body tense, but he didn't have any intention of letting her down. He only asked nervously, "Are you hurt?" "No." Tanghua wrapped her arms around Qingjia's neck. Feeling his stiffness, she whispered in his ear, "Daoist Qin, you're very worried about me?" "Yes." Qingjiu didn't deny it. "I'm afraid that you'll be taken in by Feng Tianshi." Tanghua laughed happily. She wrapped her arms around his neck and leaned on his back. Although it was as light as a feather, Qingjiu could clearly feel her existence. At first, it was a little cold, making people feel gloomy and cold. Later on, they got used to it. He was a Taoist cultivator, so he was able to withstand this amount of yin qi. "If I can't beat Feng Tianshi and get taken in by him, wouldn't you have profited?" "No, I am a man of my word. I will save you from him." Tanghua asked with a smile, "Can Taoist Qin beat him?" "I have an immortal sword. I should be able to defeat him." Qingjiu was not modest at all. "Even without the immortal sword, I am confident that I can beat him. He is good at catching ghosts, so he might not be as good as me in a battle of magical powers." "I didn't expect Taoist Qin to be so narcissistic," Tanghua said softly. "Taoist Qin, how do you feel about me now? Are you interested in a human-ghost relationship?" "How is Feng Tianshi?" Qingjiu asked. Tanghua didn't mind him changing the topic. She said, "He's dead. He's now one of the wandering ghosts." "Really?" Qingjiu asked. At this moment, a voice came from the villa. "Master! Master!" It was Feng Yunqi. Qingjiu heard this voice and knew that she wasn't lying. "Where do you want to go now?" This female ghost was really straightforward. She killed Feng Tianshi just like that. Chapter 830. Feng Yunqi and Tang Lushing, who were waiting outside the villa, saw that more than an hour had passed, and Feng Tianshi still hadn't come out. They had a bad feeling in their hearts. Feng Yunqi couldn't wait any longer and tried to break the door of the villa again. Unexpectedly, when he pushed the door opened gently. He stood at the door, holding a wooden sword with a cautious expression. No sound came from inside. This already gave him a bad feeling. He carefully crept in. After taking 2 steps, he saw Feng Tianshi lying on the ground. He shouted, "Master," and rushed in front of Feng Tianshi. He thought that Feng Tianshi should be injured, but he didn't expect that when he walked up to take a look, Feng Tianshi was dead. He cried out several times in horror. Feng Tianshi still didn't wake up. He finally believed that Feng Tianshi was dead. He didn't expect that Feng Tianshi was so powerful that he would die just like that. He waited outside the villa and didn't hear any movement inside at all. Tang Lushing also followed in. Seeing that Feng Tianshi was dead, he was even more scared. He was so scared that he didn't say hello to Feng Yunqi. He ran out with the child in his arms. Feng Tianshi couldn't destroy that ghost, which showed that it was very powerful. Now, it was better for him to leave this place. Compared to money, he valued his life more. Now, even if he wanted to destroy the ghost in the villa, he didn't have the money to hire someone. He was looking forward to the ghost that made him lose all his money. Perhaps it was the ghost of his eldest daughter, who just wanted to make him a little unlucky. Perhaps after her anger had subsided, she would reincarnate? Tang Lushing was covered in cold sweat. He remembered that Feng Tianshi had said that he set up a mourning hall to bring back the ghosts of people who died outside. He thought that when he settled down, he must set up a mourning hall for his eldest daughter. When she came back, she would definitely reincarnate without any resentment. Maybe if he coaxed her, she could find a way to get his property back. Thinking of this, Tang Lushing was not so scared anymore. His eldest daughter had died long ago. She definitely didn't know about Song Xiaoyun, let alone what he was thinking. When the time came to invite the ghost back, he would put in a good word for her. That girl was only 20 years old this year, and their father-daughter relationship in the past was not bad. Tang Lu was no longer afraid. When he remembered that he had nothing now, he was very annoyed. In the end, he found a key in his pocket. He looked at the key. Wasn't this the key to the Tang family's old villa? The villa that still couldn't be sold. He thought for a moment and carried his youngest son to the villa. With the current situation, it was best to stay here for the time being. Only Feng Yunqi was left in the villa. He looked at Feng Tianqi's unscathed and cold body. Master! Feng Yunqi was a little choked up. He looked around but didn't find any traces of the ghost. He didn't know if the ghost had perished together with Feng Tianqi or if it had left. In the end, he had no choice but to carry the corpse of Feng Tianqi and leave. Feng Yunqi felt that this matter was not simple, so he sent the news of Feng Tianqi's death to the group in their circle. Seniors, I, Feng Yunqi, would like to ask you to help me find the female ghost that killed my master. At present, I don't know if she is still alive. When you find her, you don't need to do anything. I will take care of the rest. I, Feng Yunqi, will definitely thank you. Chapter 831. The people in the metaphysics circle were all shocked when they heard that Feng Tianqi was dead. Through the screen, they all started to calculate. In a place where Feng Yunqi couldn't see, they all had serious expressions. According to what they calculated, they all understood that Feng Tianqi's karma had arrived. If it wasn't related to someone they cared about, they wouldn't be willing to care about karma no matter how much the reward was. However, they were still very curious as to why Feng Tianqi suddenly died. Feng Yunqi told the people in the group about the family Tang villa. The group fell into silence for a long time. I've already advised Feng Tianqi not to care about the karma of the family Tang villa. Whatever happens to the family Tang villa in the future will be retribution. Look, he's also suffering retribution now. Yunqi, we can't interfere in this matter. Yeah, we can't interfere. I just calculated for myself. Once I interfere, I won't be able to return. Although I'm already so old, who doesn't want to live for 2 more years? If it was anything else, then forget it. But this is related to the family Tang villa. We can't interfere. No one in the group agreed to Feng Yunqi's condition. Even if Feng Yunqi's reward was very tempting, there were still things that they wanted. But in front of their lives, nothing was important. Seeing that no one cared, Feng Yunqi bid farewell to everyone and brought Feng Tianqi's body back to the sect to be buried. And he also took over Feng Tianqi's position. In fact, there were only him and Feng Tianqi in their sect. Qingjiu also noticed the commotion in the group and even asked Tanghua to watch together. Looking at the reaction in the group, Tanghua smiled. There are still many smart people. They have some ability and know that they can't interfere in this matter. If they interfere, they will cause trouble. She was very satisfied with this result. Where's Fang Tianxi's ghost? Qinjiu asked. He was just a little curious. He didn't sympathize with Fang Tianxi. It should be said that he didn't sympathize with people who had nothing to do with him. Tanghua laid lazily on his back. Qinjiu was already used to the cold feeling. This female ghost likes to cause trouble. Forget it. I'll just let her be. It's only 20 years. It'll pass in the blink of an eye. Tanghua thought for a moment and said, I don't know where he went. Anyway, he is now a lonely ghost, just like those ordinary ghosts. I can't go home. I don't have my previous cultivation, and I have to hide because of the disgust of the ghost-catching Taoist priests. He'll experience it for himself. As a lonely ghost, he's already very pitiful. He clearly hasn't done anything bad, but the demon-catching Taoist priest still hates him to the core. In the future, he will encounter many more ghosts, and their experiences will be the same as his. He will personally see the ghost that he is familiar with being captured by those demon hunters. There are good people and good ghosts. Tanghua placed her hands on Qinjia's neck and whispered into his ear, no matter what race they are, there's no need to fight with them, right? Just like Taoist Qin, although he looks cold and doesn't care about the life and death of others. But when you catch demons, you only catch the demons that cause chaos in the city. You never kill the demons that cultivate honestly in the mountains, right? Qinju nodded. Yes. So, I find Taoist Qin very pleasing to the eye. From the first time I met Taoist Qin, I thought that this little Taoist priest was really different. He successfully piqued my interest. Chapter 832. Qinju didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Tanghua's words. So this was her first impression of him? Actually, he also wanted to say that when he first saw this female ghost, he also thought that she was different from other ghosts. He didn't know why, but every time he wanted to say something harsh, something would flash through his mind, and he would subconsciously swallow those cold and unpleasant words. It was as if he never wanted to say them. Miss Tang, HM? Tanghua smiled as she grabbed Qinjia's neck. Her cold fingers made Qinjia shiver. It was not fear, but an indescribable feeling that spread from the bottom of his heart. It was a little warm, a little sweet, and also a little sour. We've known each other for so long, and you actually call me Miss Tang. Qinjiu took a deep breath and suppressed the feeling that was about to burst out. You don't call me Taoist Qin. I think that's fine. So you're worried about me calling you that? Qinjiu wanted to say no. How could that be? But he was curious. What was she going to say next? What was she going to call him? He felt that he might have been bewitched by this female ghost. But his mind was very clear, and he knew what he was doing. How do you want me to call you, Taoist Qin? Little Jiu? Qinjia's lips twitched. I'm older than you. Don't call me Little Jiu. Brother Jiu, Brother Jiu? Qinjia's heart softened. This female ghost's voice was too sweet. He couldn't stand it. Or, Brother Qin, Brother Lover? Qinjiu, what should I do? This female ghost really seemed to be haunting him. He couldn't get rid of her. When he heard her sweet voice calling him Brother Jiu, Brother Qin, his heart actually felt so happy. Qinjia's face was tense. Be serious. What if someone hears us? I'm a ghost. They can't hear me unless I want them to. Tanghua whispered into Qinjia's ear. Do you like it when I call you that? Which name do you like? If you're afraid of others hearing you, I'll call you secretly. I guarantee that only you can hear me. Qinjia's heart raced, and his ears turned red. It was all over. Qinjia was a demon hunter. His life was to catch demons and earn money. No matter how beautiful a woman was, he wouldn't be moved. Qinjia was going against his heart. This was a female ghost on his back. I'll call you Ajiu. When Qinjia heard the voice behind the voice, he felt a strange sense of loss. Then, he laughed mockingly in his heart. When she called him that, he rejected it. Now that she had changed the way she addressed him, what was he regretting? Qinjia fell into deep thought. He had to admit that this female ghost had really attracted him. I to do something to you. Qinjia reacted. What do you want to do? I'll help you, he said subconsciously. After he said that, he smiled helplessly. He had fallen into her hands. I want to use these 20 years to wander around those remote places, and see if there are any wandering ghosts like me. Qingjiu thought of what she had been through and felt pity for her. Then I'll go with you. Qingjiu could not help but think that if he ignored everything and stayed with her, they would only have 20 years. You're daydreaming, Ajio. What are you thinking about? Tanghua asked. Chapter 833. I was thinking. Qingjiu hesitated for a moment before saying, why would a ghost like you like me? I'm just a demon-catching Taoist. Other than some demon-catching skills, I'm just an ordinary person. About that, it's because I think you're cute. Also, Ajio is not ordinary. As Tanghua spoke, she pinched Qingjiu's cheeks with both hands. For example, your face is especially good-looking. Also, your skills as a demon-catching Taoist are not bad. Ajio, you're too humble. With your looks, if you walk on the streets and shout out who wants to marry you, there will definitely be many beauties who would be willing. This was the first time Qingjiu had been seriously praised by someone. Even his family did not think that he was good. Later on, it was because he followed his master that his life became better. However, his master was focused on cultivation. Other than teaching him Taoist techniques, he rarely interacted with him. This also caused him to develop a personality that did not like to get close to others. People called him a weird person. Where are you going in 20 years? Qingjiu asked. Tanghua smiled and replied, I don't know. Maybe it's the ghost world. After all, if a soul does not reincarnate, it will go to the ghost world in the end. Do you really think that I'm good? System. I keep feeling that something is wrong. Is it because the gender is reversed? This fellow is still embarrassed. Actually, it's not impossible to have a human-ghost relationship. I don't mind that. Qingjiu said, if you don't mind, can we try it? Tanghua's lips curled into a smile. Really? You mean that you like me too? It should be like. Qingjiu said with certainty, I can't bear to see you unhappy and want to do whatever you want. This should be like. This is like. Ajio, you're really cute. Cute? What the hell? Qingjiu's face stiffened. Then, Tanghua laid on his back without any restraint. Her body slowly solidified. Her originally cold body also started to warm up. He was shocked at these changes. Ajio, are you sure you won't regret it? We only have 20 years. Of course, I won't regret what I've decided. 20 years is enough to do many things. Didn't she say that she would go to the ghost world in the future? If it was inconvenient for her to come out in the future, he would go and look for her, Qingjiu thought to himself. After admitting his feelings, he felt much more relaxed, and the smile on his face never disappeared. It turned out that the feeling that had welled up in her heart earlier was because he liked her. In the following time, the two of them wandered around the small mountain villages and saw countless women being abducted. Tanghua didn't kill any more people. She only exposed the trafficking village and secretly crippled those villains. She saved the girls who had just entered the village. The women who had been in the village for a long time were unwilling to leave. She would not care about them, let alone sympathize with them. If they were not exposed, sooner or later, these women would only become accomplices to those who hurt innocent girls in the future. One day, Qingjiu and Tanghua sat hand in hand on the top of a mountain and looked down at the small village. Did Guogua think of doing this because of her own experience? They had just arrived today. The village below was also the kind of village where girls were abducted and sold. Wives were abducted and bought. Tanghua leaned on his shoulder and shook her head. No. Then why? Since we're here, we want to do something and leave something behind to make life more meaningful. Chapter 834. Qingjiu remembered that she was just a ghost now and couldn't help but laugh. We've already attracted the attention of the metaphysics circle, Qingjiu said. Tanghua didn't care. What will they do? Before they saw Guogua, they definitely wanted to do something. But after seeing Guogua, they probably didn't have the courage to do anything. His ghost girlfriend wasn't simple. It's good that you know. At this moment, Tanghua looked at the gradually darkening sky. Okay, Ajio, wait for me here. I'm going to do something big. I'll wait for you to come back. Qingjiu had thought of helping her do those things before, but she seemed to despise him for not being able to do it. She said that he couldn't hide himself, and was too big of a target. She was different. She was a ghost, and no one could discover her. He sat on the hill and watched her figure float down. His eyes were full of smiles. He liked everything about her, whether she was a ghost or not. Now, he felt that 20 years was a bit short. So, he should cultivate his Tao techniques and become stronger. That way, it would be easier for him to enter the ghost world. That's right, he was indeed not satisfied. Before he was with her, he was still a bit hesitant. But after he was with her, he realized how charming this ghost girl was. Everything about her, including even a strand of her hair, he felt that it was exceptionally charming. Whatever she said, he wanted to listen to her. Her smile, he felt that it was the most beautiful smile in the world. Her voice was naturally the sweetest and most pleasant to listen to. He would never get tired of hearing it. Taoist Qin, why are you here? Qin Jia's beautiful fantasy was suddenly interrupted by a voice. He frowned and looked unhappily at the group of people climbing up the hill. The ones leading the way were Fang Yunqi and a young woman. He had seen them before. It was already 2 years ago. This woman was called Ning Xiangxi. She was in the mountain village where he met Guogua. Behind the two of them, there were a few familiar people. They were all in the metaphysics circle and were good at catching ghosts. Looking at these people, Qinjiu fell into deep thought. Then, he asked, "Why are you all here?" Taoist Qin, haven't you seen the group recently? How could you not know about such big news? I thought you were going to change your profession to ghost hunting, so I came here to give it a try. Qinjiu already had a guess in his heart. In the past 2 years, his guogua had caused quite a commotion, so it was normal for her to attract these people. I'm not here to catch ghosts. He had accompanied his female ghost to deal with the villains in the mountain village. Thinking that there were a few people he had a good impression of, he said, "There is no ghost here that you want to catch. You can go to the next place." Taoist Qin, I'm certain that the ghost we're looking for is here. Fang Yunqi stared at Qinjiu and said righteously, I can already smell that ghost scent. All ghosts in this world should be killed. Since I've seen it, I definitely won't let it go. Qinjiu looked at Fang Yunqi in a daze. He had only seen such an expression on Fang Tianchu's face before. Every time he encountered a ghost, whether it was innocent or not, Fang Tianchu would mercilessly capture the other party. If the ghost did not harm anyone and could be easily captured or surrendered, Fang Tianchu would let it live and send it to the temple. If the ghost had harmed someone, no matter what the reason was, even if it was a personal grudge, in Fang Tianchu's eyes, it was an evil ghost that deserved to be killed. Fang Yunqi had already become a Fang Tianchu. If I say there isn't one, then there isn't one. Qinjiu looked past Fang Yunqi and looked at the others. Considering our past relationship, fellow cultivators, please don't interfere in this matter. Chapter 835. Whether there are ghosts or not, we'll only know after looking for them. Taoist Qin, you're so confident that there aren't any. Fang Yunqi narrowed his eyes. I'm very suspicious of Taoist Qin's true motive. I remember that a few years ago, in a small mountain village, Taoist Qin left with a female ghost, right? Now that Taoist Qin is stopping us from catching the ghost, could it be that the ghost that appeared here is the same one from back then? Fang Yunqi was aggressive. Then can I guess that the ghost that has been doing evil all these years is the ghost called Tangua from back then? The others looked at each other. They more or less knew a little about what happened back then. They only knew that Fang Yunqi had suffered a great loss at the hands of a female ghost. Later on, Fang Tianchu had died, so they had almost forgotten about this matter. If it was the ghost from back then, only 2 years had passed. Fang Yunqi had been beaten so badly by the ghost back then. Could he deal with it today? Taoist Qin, I've always known that you're a person who only cares about money and has no principles at all. I don't know what benefits that ghost gave you to make you help her harm people. Qinjiu said, she didn't harm anyone? Didn't harm anyone? Fang Yunqi was so angry that he laughed. Over the years, how many small villages have those things happened? It's exactly the same as back then. At first, I wasn't sure, but now that Taoist Qin is here, I'm very sure that the ghost is Tangua, right?
Yes.
Qinjiu didn't hide anything and directly answered. He wasn't afraid that these people would come to deal with his guogua. Even if guogua didn't make a move, With the immortal sword that he had already refined and improved a lot in the past 2 years, these people wouldn't be his match. Daoist Qin, is that ghost really Tanghua? Is she the one who did all these things? Ning Xiangxi also interrupted. In the past 2 years, Brother Fong and I have already investigated. That Tanghua from back then is the Tanghua from the family Tang. She's also the eldest daughter of Tang Lu. She's also the female ghost that killed my master. Whether it's out of justice or out of personal hatred, I, Fong Yunqi, will kill her every time I see her in my life until her soul dissipates. Otherwise, I won't let her go. Since we've met each other today, I definitely won't let her harm the world again. Qin Jiu had a relaxed expression. Why are you telling me this? Do you think I'll help you uphold justice just because you said so? No, the thing that I, Qin Jiu, dislike the most is upholding justice. You all know that Qin Jiu only likes to catch demons and earn money. Of course, I have another hobby now. When he said the last sentence, Qin Jiu's face was full of smiles. Other than Fong Yunqi, everyone else who was familiar with Qin Jiu looked at each other. They didn't understand why Qin Jiu, who was always cold to everyone, would smile so foolishly. They really wanted to know what kind of hobby Qin Jiu had. But since the other party didn't want to talk about it, they were too embarrassed to ask. That people. T. They. T. Them St. However, when they heard Fong Yunqi say that the ghost was related to the Tang family, many people's hearts skipped a beat. Their backs were drenched in sweat. Fong Yunqi had tricked them. If they hadn't met Qin Jiu, they would have been tricked by Fong Yunqi. Chapter 836. No one could get involved in the karma of the family Tang. Even Fong Tianshi couldn't deal with the female ghost, so they should just forget about it. Seniors, are you planning to give up? Fong Yunqi saw that everyone was retreating and quickly said, I will definitely give you what I promised as long as you help me take down that female ghost. Once she's dead, there won't be any more karma, right? Kid Fong, it's not that we don't want to help you deal with the female ghost. If she has nothing to do with the family Tang and has done a lot of evil, as ghost hunters, we will definitely help you. But this female ghost is from the family Tang. The karma of the family Tang is too heavy. No one here can bear it. An older Taoist looked at Fong Yunqi and sighed. Kid Fong, listen to my advice. Your master died because of karma. If he was really killed by the family Tang's daughter, then it can only be considered as revenge. After all, your master killed the ghost of her mother. Think about it. Don't you hate her to the core because she killed your master? If you can deal with her, then forget it. You are no match for her. It's not that they looked down on Fong Yunqi, but Fong Tianshi was so powerful that he could kill the female ghost just like that. How can it be the same? If her mother didn't do evil and cause a miscarriage and make the entire family Tang restless, why would my master kill her? All ghosts that harm people deserve to die. Then what about the people that harm people? Suddenly, a pleasant voice came from not far away, attracting everyone's attention. Tanghua floated up from below. Everyone looked at her with vigilance. They even quickly moved away from Fong Yunqi's position, as if to say that they had nothing to do with Fong Yunqi and were just passing by. Tanghua didn't care about them. She only looked at Fong Yunqi with a smile. You said that ghosts that harm people deserve to die. Then what about the people that harm people? Bad people will be punished by the law. Even if the law can't punish them, God will. Tanghua slowly walked to Qin Jiu's side and smiled. Do you know a phrase called enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens? The heavens are so busy that they definitely won't be able to do anything about it. So, I'll just help him get rid of all these troublesome matters and bad people. Isn't that great? My master is not a bad person. On the contrary, he saved many people and killed those evil spirits. Fong Yunqi said anxiously. Tanghua chuckled. He's your master. Of course, he's not an evil person in your eyes. However, he destroyed my mother's soul. To me, he's an evil person. It's only right and proper to avenge your mother. I didn't do anything wrong. Then it's only right for me to avenge my master, Fong Yunqi said subconsciously. Tanghua laughed out loud. That's right. If you're talking about revenge, then I won't despise you. What kind of excuse are you looking for? You're saying that I've done something devoid of conscience? You're using the excuse of upholding justice and eliminating evil to eliminate me. That's not right. Fang Yunqi, I'll accompany you whenever you want to avenge your personal grudge. However, I advise you to give up. You can't beat me. Even after 10 years, or even 100 years, you still won't be my opponent. When you're at your weakest, I'll become stronger. Fang Yunqi's face turned red when he heard Tangwa's words. Of course, I'm eliminating you not only for revenge. I'm also doing it for other reasons. For example, if you want to harm people, then I'll kill you so that no one else will be harmed by you. Then tell me, how did I harm people? You. Fang Yunqi thought about what she had done, and his expression turned ugly. Chapter 837. How could she let him talk about the things that she had done? Isn't it just getting rid of those men's evil roots? What's there that can't be said? Tangwa said with a smile. Everyone present was speechless. This female ghost was really shameless. Tangwa looked at Qinjiu beside her. Jiu, do you think that those people should have their roots cut off? Yes, Qinjiu replied with certainty. Tangwa was very happy. Her body solidified as she held onto his arm. The intimate appearance of the two of them was clearly seen by everyone. They all widened their eyes in disbelief. Qinjiu, that young Taoist who only liked to catch demons and earn money, was actually dating a female ghost? It had to be fake. Qinjiu, what's your relationship with this female ghost? Someone asked with a trembling voice. It couldn't be. Why would Qinjiu do such a thing? Qinjiu hugged Tangwa's waist. Even if he didn't say anything, he admitted their relationship. It's as you see and think. It's like that. Don't you only like to catch demons and earn money? I've said it before. I have another hobby. Qinjiu smiled. He looked at Tangwa with love and indulgence. Spoiling my wife. Everyone. Fuck. Are humans and ghosts showing off their love too? Fang Yunqi's expression changed. Humans and ghosts can't fall in love. Qinjiu, you've already broken the rules. Whose rules? Qinjiu asked. He stared at Fang Yunqi. You set them? Anyway, humans and ghosts can't fall in love, Fang Yunqi said stubbornly. He looked at Qinjiu with disgust. As a member of the metaphysics world, you actually fell in love with a ghost. You. I'm not a Taoist who catches ghosts. I'm a Taoist who catches demons. Why can't I fall in love with ghosts? Qinjiu interrupted Fang Yunqi. Tangwa also nodded. That's right. It's none of your business. Why do you care? How people fall in love has nothing to do with you. You're too nosy. Jiu, just wait. Didn't he want to stop me from doing something today? I'll do something in front of him and see if he can stop me. Letting go of Qinjiu's arm, her body floated up again. She floated down to the small mountain village below. When Fang Yunqi saw this, he felt that something was wrong and chased after him. Ning Xiangxi followed closely behind. She had a feeling that things would not go smoothly today. She had seen Tangwa's strength many years ago. Would Brother Fang really be a match for her? Seniors, please lend a hand. She's going to do evil again. Fang Yunqi didn't forget to turn around and say to the others, how about double the things I promised you? Kid Fang, I can't help you. I can't help you. No matter how many things they had, they wouldn't be able to help. They had been out there for many years and had seen countless ghosts. This was the only thing they were unsure of. They were even guessing how long they could last against the other party. Fang Yunqi's face turned ugly. Since you don't want to, then forget it. I hope you won't regret it one day. When this female ghost grows up in the future, it will be incredible. The human world will be in chaos because of her. With that, Fang Yunqi ignored the people behind him and chased after Tangwa into the village. The rest of the people shook their heads. What grow up? She had already grown up. Okay? No one could stop her from growing up. She would only get stronger and stronger. Chapter 838. When the crowd saw Qinjiu standing there calmly, they were curious. Weren't the human and the ghost in love? Fang Yunqi was going to deal with Tangwa. Why was Qinjiu still sitting there? Qinjiu, aren't you going to take a look? Someone who was closer to Qinjiu moved to his side and asked, what if Fang Yunqi really has a way to deal with her? Aren't you worried? Fang Yunqi isn't enough. Chinju said confidently, she doesn't want me to follow her. She said that what she's going to do is bloody and violent. She wants me to stay here and wait. She said that in front of me, she has to be elegant and ladylike. Haha, is that so? These days, do all ghosts care so much about their image in front of their partners? But the things she did, even if you didn't look, you would think that it was very violent. Actually, I don't care about these things. Chinjo smiled, but since she doesn't want me to look, I won't look. I'll just wait here for her. Chinjo, why would she do these things? Chinjo didn't mind their questions. He took out his phone and sent them the information and photos he had found. Take a look. She was once left in the village by someone like this. She escaped in the end, but she didn't manage to escape. She jumped off the cliff and died. Everyone looked at the information and photos in the group and chose to remain silent. When they arrived, they felt that the energy here was very heavy. They thought that it was because the ghost was too powerful. After looking at the information, they understood why. In fact, she was very close to them just now. The energy on her body wasn't heavy, especially when she was holding on to Chinjo. There was almost no energy on her body. Where did the energy come from? Other than the information, there were also photos in the group. It was nothing else but piles of bones that had been dug up near this small mountain village. These bones were made by the people in the village. They were all abducted from the outside. They were all women who didn't want to be obedient. And those obedient women became their accomplices. I reckon that this time, she will find out who was involved in these things and kill them, Chinju said with a smile. If they hadn't seen the photos and information in the group, they would have thought that Chinju was crazy. After seeing these things, they chose to remain silent. After a while, someone who had a good relationship with Chinju said, although the people she killed deserve to be killed, she's a stage 1 ghost. If this continues, she'll be punished by the heavens sooner or later. We don't care about that. Chinju, if you're serious, you should just focus on cultivating with her. I asked her about it. Chinju said. She said that the heavens don't dare to punish her. Chinju, I think you're crazy. You believe whatever she says? Chinju nodded matter-of-factly. That's right. I believe whatever she says. I don't know why, but I feel like she's not lying to me. She was very confident when she told me this. Of course, the most important thing was that she was very mysterious to begin with. She could even take out an immortal sword. Later on, he even took out a lightning rod and gave it to him. That's right. It wasn't a lightning rod for avoiding ordinary lightning, but a lightning rod for avoiding lightning tribulations. If it was just that, he definitely wouldn't believe it. However, when he received these lightning rods, these things were even more powerful than immortal swords. He couldn't help but believe what she said. However, he wouldn't share this with the group of Taoists in front of him. Did this group of old bachelors know what it was like to be in a relationship? Chapter 839. When everyone saw how confident Chinjo was, they all felt that he was too blind and had been bewitched by a female ghost. However, they didn't dare to say anything bad about that female ghost. That female ghost was from the family and family was filled with karma. They didn't want to offend her just because of one sentence. She won't do anything to that kid, right? Chinju said with certainty. As long as Feng Yunqi doesn't cross her bottom line, like what happened to Feng Tianshi, she won't kill him. As for what she will do to him, I don't know. Hee, what kind of answer was that? Knowing that Feng Yunqi's life wouldn't be in danger, they weren't worried anymore. Although Chinju didn't have much compassion, he was still a person with principles. He would do whatever he said and wouldn't lie. They were curious about how strong that female ghost was, but they didn't want to watch the show. They saw that Chinju was in a good mood, so they want to talk to him about Tangua. They realized that as long as they talked about Tangua, Chinju's face would be full of smiles. Feng Yunqi chased after Tangua and watched as Tangua entered the village. When he saw the large field in the village, he felt that the surrounding energy was extremely heavy. When he looked carefully, he realized that there were wandering ghosts everywhere. At that moment, he wanted to draw his sword and kill the ghosts. Right at that moment, Tangua walked out of the house and smiled at him. He felt that something was wrong. When he was about to rush in front of those little ghosts, he finally realized what was wrong. The little ghosts were right in front of him. As long as he slashed, their souls would definitely scatter. However, his sword seemed to have hit an invisible barrier and couldn't go any further. He tried to rush over, but he realized that he couldn't pass through this invisible barrier. Ning Xiangxi also reached out and pushed, but she realized that what was blocking them was a transparent wall. We can't pass, Big Brother Fong. This ghost skills are high. It used the ghost wall on us. I'll think of a way. When Tanghua heard the words ghost hitting the wall, she couldn't help but laugh. This is not ghost hitting the wall. Fang Yunqi, you were a dabbler 2 years ago, and you're still a dabbler now. Don't you know what a barrier is? Fang Yunqi smiled. Ghost wall? Only he could think of that. Boundaries? Fang Yunqi's expression changed. Impossible. Even with his master's ability, it was impossible for him to set up the legendary enchantment. She was just a new ghost. How could she know how to set up an enchantment? He didn't believe it. I can't be bothered to talk to you. Not only can't come over, you can't leave. You guys can stay there until I'm done with my business. Don't you want to stop me? Don't you want to punish evil and promote good? Don't you want to uphold justice and eliminate evil? Let me tell you, in the face of absolute power, those are all fake. After Tanghua finished speaking, she no longer paid any attention to him. Instead, she smiled at the little ghosts and took out a soul-condensing pill. Come, condense your soul bodies, then go in and find the person who killed you. Whoever harmed you, take revenge. As for those who didn't harm you, don't bother. After you've taken your revenge, I'll help you release your souls and send you to reincarnation. TTT. This is called enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. They're just going to take revenge on their enemies. You're unreasonable. Why can you, Fang Yunqi, take revenge for your master, but we ghosts can't? Tanghua, you'll be punished by the heavens. Chapter 840. No, I won't. God wouldn't dare to punish me. Fang Yunqi's face was cold. God will definitely punish you for an evil spirit like you. Fang Yunqi, you are actually a selfish person. Tanghua narrowed her eyes. One day, you will regret it. You will also understand how laughable your actions are. Originally, I had already gotten rid of some evil spirits. However, fate is unpredictable. Today, I get rid of this evil spirit, but tomorrow, the evil spirit may appear in another place. Fang Yunqi, I will give you one last advice. When you catch ghosts, use your brain. Don't catch all kinds of ghosts. No matter if they are good or bad, they will take away their life. Fang Yunqi did not speak. I punish evil and promote good. I kill evil spirits. How can there be evil spirits? Tanghua smiled and shook her head. She did not say anything else. The smart little ghosts who had already formed their souls saw Tanghua standing there. They took a chair out of nowhere and placed it in front of her. They bowed respectfully to her. Okay, you guys go and take revenge. I will take care of everything here. Tanghua, you have to follow the rules. If you continue to act like this, even God will punish you. Fang Yunqi could not go over. Soon, he heard screams coming from the village. He shouted, Tanghua. Tanghua did not turn her head. She only listened to the screams. After a long time, Fang Yunqi looked very dispirited. He could not even do anything to a ghost. How could he be a ghost hunter? Have you finished taking revenge? Tanghua asked the little ghosts. The group of little ghosts came in front of Tanghua. They bowed to her gratefully and said thank you. Souls did not have tears. They wanted to cry, but they could not. They only had an ugly expression. Then I will help you guys to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Tanghua said with a smile. This cycle of reincarnation is a good thing. In the next life, you will become a new person. You will not remember what happened in this life. However, you have to be a person with principles. The brats didn't quite understand this, but they believed that a person with principles was a person who wouldn't persecute others for no reason, a person with principles. They felt that Tanghua's words were really strange. Why didn't she ask them to be good people? Because being a good person might not bring good karma. If you're too good, you'll be easily bullied. All you need to do is follow your own heart and principles, and not take the initiative to harm others. The little ghosts nodded as if they understood something. When Tangwa finished reading the rebirth scripture, they sat down with their legs crossed. Not long after, their souls became transparent. Tangwa made a hand seal and opened a door beside them. They seemed to have sensed something and finally bowed to Tangwa before jumping into the cycle of reincarnation. Fang Yunqi could only watch those little ghosts reincarnate. He did not expect that the ghost that had killed countless people and committed all kinds of evil would be covered in Buddhist light. Ning Xiangxi couldn't believe it either. Why did Tangwa have the light of Buddha? It was too strange. Watching those little ghosts slowly enter the cycle of reincarnation, in fact, Ning Xiangxi did not feel much. The people in this village were indeed evil people. If it was those little ghosts who took revenge, in fact, she could accept it. Especially when she heard the screams of those men. She knew what had happened. Compared with 2 years ago, she was much more mature. She was not so one-sided when thinking about problems. Tangwa was harmed by the people in that village. In fact, what she did was understandable. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.